All right. We are live. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Hope everybody had a good weekend. I know I have. We got a number of people up in here tonight. Okay. John Q's live. Look out. Much love to everyone coming in. Got Leslie B in the house moderating tonight. Patty Meckley is in the house. Hello, Patty. Belady Dogs, how are you? Shandia Ellison, how are you? All right. We got things cooking. Mama Bear is in the house from Colorado. Yes, indeed. She knows what time it is. Time for table talk tonight. We got Chris Principessa in the house. How you doing, Chris? Much love to you. Thank you for joining us. Got a number of things to cover tonight. We're going to have a very exciting special table talk for you tonight. Most definitely. Yes, we do have a surprise guest. How did you know? Did you read the banner outside? Want to make sure everybody checks in. Hit that thumbs up button. That lets us know what the attendance is. For table talk, we've got Renegade Prince, Randy up in the house. We've got Mr. Bossman Blake in the house, my brother. I am doing good, Chris. I'm doing very well. Stephanie Paul is in the house. Welcome. We've got Robin Bovenkirk in the house. Welcome. Want to type a 1 in the room for a good sound check, just to make sure that we're operating at full 100% capacity. Trixie Starr in blue is in the house. Welcome, love. Moderating for tonight. We've got the moderators coming in here. We've got Manda Pants. Hey, girl. Hello. I see you smiling over there. Yes, that's good. That's good to see you, babe. Good to see you. Rosemary and Crime, how are you? Janice Schroeder is in the house. How are you? We got some peoples coming in. We got some peoples coming in tonight. Cat's Eye is in the house. Peace, love, and light to you. Chi-Town Fit Queen is in the house. Much love to you. All right. We got the people coming. They're coming. They know that John's going to work tonight. Indeed. Good to see everybody. Lorraine Muhammad. Miss Lorraine Muhammad is in the house. Peace and blessings upon you, my dear. How are you? Good to know. Karma Kath is in the house, in the building. Beautiful. Hope you all had a good weekend. Temperatures are changing. We are getting close to the holiday season. Got Thanksgiving around the corner. Stella Farrell, how are you? Cajun Holt Topics with Miss Cajun. All right. Got 2 in 1. Much love to you. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. All right, we've got a very, very special table talk for you tonight. One that I know that you will most certainly enjoy, and one that will most certainly be memorable indeed. Try to work hard, getting things lined up, especially for the upcoming holidays swinging right around the corner. Be here in a heartbeat and be out in a heartbeat too. But you know how they come. They come in quick and then whoosh, they go away. So with
my work on Table Talk, my work also on Q Squared, as well as Q the Truth, operating three independent programs on one channel. Um, I haven't seen it done before, so I thought I'd step out and maybe try my hand at it. So far, it's working out.
It's working out good.
And it's to bring variety, bring a different perspective coming from three different points of view, if you will. You know, we have the investigative side with Q the Truth, where I get into doing casework with you and share that information with you. We do Table Talk as an open platform, have special guests on, like we're going to have tonight, to come in and, chop it up with John Q. And then we have Q Squared, where I square off with Miss Q Carlock, and we have a place to go. People enjoy coming to, and we can chop it up in many different ways. You know, we have great topics, great discussion. We cover casework. We cover just about anything and everything where people come to relax and enjoy themselves in good company.
So
That's been a pleasure. You know, during the mid part of the week, to be able to do that just before the weekend, and have the weekends, kick in right. You know, we got a lot going on out there in the YouTube streets, obviously, and covering these various different cases that pop up on us on a daily basis, weekly basis. Uh, it can be an incredible journey for some, you know, but it's good to know that I'm in good company.
I'm in very good company. Sandra Miller, welcome. Jennifer Nobles, welcome. Everybody knows Jennifer Nobles.
Working on the Classic and Sincere, our boys out of California,
Bakersfield, California.
that case is still ongoing. I got some things happening in that neck of the woods. We're going into an 11th month on the 21st of this month. Obviously, we're going to be closing in on a fifth month for Summer Wells come the 15th of this month.
So it's very interesting to see how things
Develop and how things evolve in both of these cases. I've kept them side by side on my table because I've been doing comparison work on both of these cases, and there are similarities indeed on this case.
we've had, I guess, an update in reference to the folks.
Concerning Michael Vaughn out of Idaho. It seems like their reward fund, I think, expires tonight at midnight. I think it's a $40,000 reward fund that was put on the table, and now there's some things changing in that. So keep an eye on that case. Keep an eye on that case, and we'll see how things develop there.
You know,
We also had an update on the Xavier Harrelson case, where obviously, we lost little Xavier. He was found and confirmed found by the medical examiner's office
out in
Iowa. And I'm sure that that'll be looked at with a critical eye, once they're able to get all that information out of the autopsy and toxicology and whatever other additional evidence that they can, share with us in regards to what happened to little Xavier. So that case is also ongoing. Mr. Boss Blake is also covering the Ahmaud Arbery case, the court trials of the Ahmaud Arbery case. If you're not familiar with Mr. Boss Blake's channel, please subscribe to his channel. He's covering that, and we're going to be doing an upcoming collaboration, doing an independent investigation on Ahmaud Arbery's case. So I spoke to Mr. Boss Blake today, and we had spoken several times before. We got a green light to do it, so we're just going to make time, put it on our schedule, and get it done.
We're going to get it done. All right, so we've got a number of folks up in the house. We're going to get ready to get busy here tonight. I just want to make sure I covered everybody that I need to cover. Okay, Leslie B. Okay. Let's talk about good housekeeping for tonight's live. And this is, I'm addressing all moderators for tonight's live. Everyone in blue. We have top priority security for the building tonight, meaning we're going to keep this chat room protected from any form of disrespect in every way, shape, or form. So if we see any activity, and I mean any activity, in the room that's not supposed to be, take them out, show them the door, quick, and then we'll keep things running. Okay? I like to keep things, as Chris Madonna would say, very classy, and that's the way we're going to be treating tonight's special live of Table Talk. Okay, and I know that Bossman Blake, Trixie Star, Leslie B. We got Renegade Prince Randy in the house holding it down. And we're going to keep it a very good, tight ship tonight. So with that said, when it comes to
topics such as the one we're going to be discussing tonight, we wanted to bring in, well, I wanted to bring in a powerhouse. Wanted to have someone that we can connect with. Oh, yes, they're here. Everybody's here. We wanted to bring in someone that definitely could have a good conversation, can chop it up with us a bit, and cover some very important topics when it comes to mental health and wellness, issues out there pertaining to a number of categories, but I'd like to, keep it in tune, keep it in line with, that particular area. Because when we talk about mental health and wellness, we're talking about all aspects of it. So we're going to be getting into a good, engaging conversation with a doctor that I decided to contact and get consent to have on Table Talk tonight. And we're going to be getting into a conversation. A very interesting one indeed. So with that said, if we got a green light from everybody, okay, we got a good sound check in the room. Okay. And all of my things are operating properly. Okay. All right. With that said, Gail Thornberry is in the room. She's up in the house. Welcome. Thumbs up for Sandra Miller. Okay, we got a green light. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to work with Table Talk with special guest tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to John Q's Table Talk. Let's go. Here at Table Talk, everybody's opinions matter, because we only here for one reason, and that's the truth. Cue the truth. So many cases we've been facing, so many kids that have been taken. You got ours and you got on, and some more wells I just can't take. We never see John hesitate. A hard to go you can't replace. So Table Talk gon' be the place where we break down all the basics. You don't need no reservation, open mind, a little face. While we work another case, kids go missing every day. We know the news, they do they thing, but John gon' come through in the bank. thing, but this is show for all of us. So let us know just what you think. Time for table talk. It's time to go to work. Let the people know that John is going live. It's time for table talk. Yeah. It's time for table talk. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you Mr. John Q. Y'all show him some love, man.
Let's go to work tonight.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to tonight's special live edition of Table Talk. Wanted to
Have a great subject matter to talk about tonight. And boy, do we have one for you. Glad everyone can join us. We are coming to you live from New York. Let me get my little deal up here. And tonight's special guest is a wonderful, wonderful person. Many of you do know our guest tonight that'll be joining us for tonight's session of Table Talk. And then many of you may not know. Yes, I see. Everybody's showing the love in the room already. That's great. That's great. So I've invited a doctor of psychiatry and family medicine, doctor of a physician, medical physician. And this doctor's patients include children, adolescents, adults with developmental disabilities, and chronic psychiatric illnesses. Also, mother of two, and I don't want to give the next part away, but I just want to go over just a little bit of whom we are about to get into a table talk with, and give you some background. He's a physician at the site lead Zulfall Health Center in Hackettstown and West Orange, New Jersey. He's a physical site lead and director of laboratory services for federally qualified healthcare centers caring for the medically underserved and immigrant communities of Essex and Warrens County. And that's in New Jersey. Okay. Telehealth for adults, pediatrics, neuropsychiatric conditions such as ADHD, MDD, PTSD, bipolar 1 and 2 disorders, and general medical conditions. Also, background is a medical director for the Good Samaritan Family Medicine in Mount Kisco, New York. Was a consulting psychiatrist at Northwestern Westchester Hospital, Department of Behavioral Health in Mount Kisco, New York. Also, attending physician of North Westchester Family Health Clinic in Mount Kisco, New York, as well as medical director for the Boulevard Family Practice in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Assistant clinical professor from Brown Medical School in Providence, Rhode Island. We've got more on the way. Fellowship in high-risk obstetrics and maternal child health care for Brown Medical School in Rhode Island. Residency in family medicine at Palmetto Richland Memorial Hospital, University of South Carolina School of Medicine, Columbia, South Carolina. Internship in psychiatrics with W.S. Hall Psychiatric Institute, Columbia, South Carolina. Medical doctor, University of South Carolina School of Medicine, Columbia, South Carolina. It's a certified American Board Family Medicine, recertified until July of 2027. member of the American Academy of Family Physicians, also fluent in Spanish, conversational French, and Italian, licensed to practice medicine in New York State and New Jersey. And that's just to give you just a little bit of background on our guest tonight, whom I'm very, very privileged and proud to have connected with, and very honored to have join us for a table talk. And it is the one and only, none other than Dr. Amy Salerno, aka Dr. Latina, is in the.
Hello.
How are you, Dr. Latina?
I am well. The only thing that you missed is that you missed one thing. I speak English too.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay, that's right. It's good to have you.
Thank you so much for the honor and the privilege of the invitation.
Oh, you are welcome. You are very, very welcome. And it's great to have you. The chat room is buzzing with love. They're throwing hearts out to you.
Oh,
say
good.
hello to Dr. Latina, everyone.
Hello to chat, to John QQ chat family.
It's just great to see that everyone they know you. It's like, oh, this is awesome. Look at that. And they're showing their love to you. They are showing big love to you. Absolutely. Yes, everyone say hello to Dr. Latina on tonight's table talk. So, doctor, how was your week? It
was very, very busy. I'm trying to move my camera a little bit here, get a little comfortable so we can talk. Very busy. My biggest moment this week happened about 3 hours ago when I went to take my little dog, Caramela. She's sitting right
Caramela, okay.
Caramela, we call her Mela or Melita. Okay. And I went to walk her in the dark, but I had a flashlight. I had all kinds of contraptions to make sure we weren't run over. Well, I tripped and I fell like a wooden soldier onto the pavement.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness. And I am I am having a little trouble moving the shoulder, but I am very fortunate that I did not break anything.
You didn't break anything. Right?
No. And I'm more fortunate, maybe more, that absolutely nobody saw me fall. So,
wow.
My pride was still intact.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm certainly, I'm just thinking about, that in my head. I'm just going, oh my goodness, I'm glad you didn't break anything and you weren't injured to a point to where that would have definitely posed a major problem,
Yep. So that was a highlight of the week. And of course, working tirelessly. So.
Right. And I can imagine, especially now more so than maybe before, since we're now coming into the holiday season, that there's a lot going on with folks, especially when it comes to mental health and wellness, and I guess, to begin our conversation tonight, Dr. Latina, tell us, how you got into your line of work, your field of endeavor.
Well, I have to say that it was not my first choice, but I decided to do medicine. I tell my daughters that they are always like, I can't believe this, Mommy. But I thought that at the end of my 4 years, I went to Duke University, and it's in North Carolina, and I studied psychology and political science. I was going to go with the Maryknoll Missionaries, which is a Roman Catholic mission. And I had signed up to be a teacher in Bolivia in South America.
Oh, South America.
As a Catholic missionary. And I was really focused on doing that. I had thought maybe I wanted to become a Catholic nun. What ended up happening is, I went through the whole interview process and everything. And it was just at the time where Latin America was very, it was what would almost like we call it a matchbox, ready to explode. And Guatemala was in the middle of civil war. Archbishop Romero in El Salvador was murdered while he was giving Catholic Mass. There were some Maryknoll sisters that were raped and murdered. And so, with this big plan to go to Bolivia with them, they made a policy change that the missionaries had to have their parents' signature to go.
Right.
And my father was like, "You're not going." Nope, not going. It's too dangerous. So my plans were dashed. But I still, in some ways, am able to do what I wanted to do in life.
Right.
Because I've worked my entire almost 31 years now, working with the Spanish-speaking community from Latin America, mostly undocumented, and many, many people from French-speaking West Africa, people currently from Syria, coming from the civil war there, migrant farm workers. I'm really doing what I really wanted to do in going to Bolivia. It just went a different road. Does that make sense?
Right. No, that definitely makes sense, because one prepared you for the other in sequence, in a sense, you know. That's wonderful. That's wonderful that you're able to get that experience, because now, you know, it's you know, with America being, you know, people from all over the world, you know, is here. They're making homes here. They're working here. They're living here. They're raising their families here. And also, too, you know, they have to deal with the everyday, you know, stress points and issues that life has the tendency to bring. And, you know, have to have outlets, resources, services, you name it, to meet the demand on, you know, both small and large families alike, you know. So that's how I look at it. One prepared you for the other.
Exactly.
You know? It's good to have you. Good to have you.
Well, thank you. I also wanted to did want to quickly acknowledge my now deceased father, who passed last year, actually, of COVID. But he was a retired surgeon, and he, you know, had an amazing life story. His father came at age 11 as a stowaway from Italy. Both his parents didn't read or write, and my dad, I mean, he didn't even speak English when he first went to elementary school, and he got a scholarship all the way through college, medical school, and he was a surgeon. And he himself also worked with the immigrant community, but back in the day where we lived, it was the Italian community. So I think, if I think about how much of my life work as a physician and my philosophy and my bedside manner that I try so hard to imitate that my father had, I learned so much from him. And when we were growing up, you know, the Italian community was very, very poor. And I tell people, I'll tell my daughters as well, in the summertime especially, we would get, for payment, people would bring like bottles of homemade wine, big jugs, fresh rabbit that they had hunted, all kinds of vegetables from their garden. So my dad was often paid with almost like a barter system. And you know, he had such a desire to give back because of where he came from. My mother's people, her mother was from South America. She did come documented. Just so everybody knows, I'm documented. My kids are documented. Yeah,
right.
That's a big issue sometimes. People say, "Oh God, you know, people aren't documented," but I am documented. So, but you know, I'm very grateful for, you know, really the immigrant story of my father's people and my mother's people. And I think if there was one negative that I would say is, we always said that my dad, as he sort of climbed the ladder of success, he always had his head turned back as if he might fall and go back to rags. so to speak.
Right.
And so the way he kind of brought us up is that, we were like one step away from becoming, a stowaway again or something, and so that kind of, if there were a negative about my upbringing, that would be one of them.
Right. So that was one of the key motivations that that really, propelled the family, so to speak, going forward. We don't want to fall back. There's really nothing to fall back to that's
Right.
of value. So we have to go forward.
Exactly.
And I appreciate you bringing that up, and my condolences to you.
Oh, my dad, I was just
your father.
devastated.
Yeah.
It was very upsetting. And it was upsetting because I still am a caregiver for my mom, who's 90. She's doing great. But I
God
also
bless her.
was caregiving my father. And well, he at the time was in a small little sort of residential home because he was suffering from Lewy body disease. I won't get into that right now.
Mhm.
But I felt horrible because I was on the front line working with COVID had just come, right? And so I'm fully convinced I did not give him the COVID, but it really made me obviously upset to lose him because I would visit him all the time. We chatted by the hour, and he gave me such great advice, really up until the last couple of days of his life. It's incredible. But then when the COVID came and I was coming home from work and my mom was living with me and my two children, it was really scary. It was like I was
Right.
afraid to even breathe on them. I would just come home, disrobe. They would have change of clothes at the door. I would run up the stairs. It was just very frightening. The first, I would say, 4 or 5 months of COVID last year.
Right. Well, yeah, it was definitely something that we all had to deal with when it first came out in late 19 going to the new year 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And they said all we're going to do is spend 2 weeks to flatten the curb.
Right.
Flatten the curb, and
I remember that.
everything will be okay as long as we can get past these 2 weeks to flatten the curb. And then from 2 weeks into a month, and then from that into another 1 to 2 months, and then the masks came out, and sanitizers that were hard to find, and
Mhm.
all kinds of stuff, paper towels, toilet paper, and I mean, you name it. So yes, I indeed, I remember that. And now look where we are. We're
Hopefully.
dealing with the vaccinations and the different pharmaceutical manufacturers that have been coming out with the vaccines, and now they're having an issue with some of these vaccines and how they're affecting people in a negative way. And they're issuing mandates and many of the different states for the government workers and things of that nature. And it's like, okay, one is compounding on the other, still trying to make some sense out of the positive direction that we're all going into regarding this quote unquote pandemic, they called it, when it first started. But I guess, in some way, shape, or form, as a doctor of medicine, family medicine, and doctor of psychiatry and everything, your work schedule and being a mom at the same time, how do you balance that? I mean, how do you find the time?
Well, it's really funny because I used to do obstetrics. When at the beginning of after my fellowship, I did 6 years of obstetrics, and it was every other night call. And it was exhausting because you just had to keep, I really felt like I was just a machine almost. It was just very difficult back in the day because there were no such things as hospitalists, and there was no legal time limit on how many hours you could work, especially in your training. But my now 22-year-old daughter says she remembers when she was in the little carriola, which I always stroller. I had to take her in. I had a babysitter that I would call up at night if I had to go in to deliver a baby, and she just wasn't a very responsible babysitter. So I very often took my then 9-month-old daughter to the labor and delivery, and I'd put the brake on the stroller and I'd go in and do a delivery. And she literally says she remembers that the first memory is for me saying, push that baby out. Empuje, duro. She says she remembers that. I'm thinking that's a really kind of sad first memory, but it was really hard. I've always been a single parent, and back in the day, as I said, we had to do 24/7 call. Wow. So I ultimately actually left Rhode Island and sort of my trajectory, the Ivy League trajectory with the assistant professorship and all of that, to move closer to my folks,
right.
So that they could really help out, because it's very difficult to work, around the clock. But I still had to take my children in, I have to admit, quite a number of times.
Yeah.
And thank God the hospital where I worked in New York State, I don't think people in this day and age would allow it. I mean, this is going back 20 years now. They let me they said, just bring babies in. I put them together in the one person stroller, put the brake on in the ER, and I do my thing, admit the patient, and then take them home. So I think to answer your question, how did you do it? Yeah. Is that, first of all, I had parents who were, we come from two cultures, Latin cultures, and which a lot, I think, of cultures are like this, outside of maybe the mainstream US, where you have multi-generational living in the same home. And so you help one another. And I have to say that my parents really almost co-parented. And then when I moved to Jersey, I moved them along. And when my dad got sick, so it really, I think it was a multi-generational help.
Wow. And
I also think the medical system 20 plus years ago was very different from how it is today. It was a lot less corporate, a lot more, in my sort of experience, humane. They understood that people had lives. Sometimes they had to bring their child in or whatever.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a different atmosphere today than it was, 10, 15, 20 years ago, when it comes to, the medical field, and, how even doctors, they get married and they have children. Most of the time, the doctors that I came across were, alternating shifts. One doctor would go to work while the other doctor stayed at home, did with the kids if they had to do. And then when the other doctor got off, then the other doctor would go to work, and they would alternate back and forth, from some of the doctors that I was familiar with at the time. But now with how mental health and wellness has changed over the last 20 years, it's incredible that, you can actually stabilize a family home and a family life and still be able to, handle your profession with the number of hours that they request you to be there, or you have to be there, and still have a balance going on.
I think it's a much better balance, because for the young people that are training to become physicians, there is a limit to the number of clinical hours that they're allowed to work. Whereas for when I was coming up, I would work about 140 hours or more a week. Sometimes I wouldn't even leave the hospital. I would just run out to get something to eat and come back. So that is just illegal now. Wow. So I think there is a much, much better work-life balance for the young people coming up. And in the past, probably 10 years, we've had hospitalists that their whole career is based in hospital. So that now when my patients have to go to hospital, I don't have to go with them and admit them. I turn them over to a hospitalist. In my young years, I would have said, that's terrible. Where's the continuity of care? But as I've gotten older and I just don't have the energy I used to have, it's nice to be able to turn my patients to a hospitalist if they need to be hospitalized.
Right. And especially in today's environment, just shifting gears just a little bit.
Sure. Sorry, I'm
When,
just
when
wandering around here,
yeah,
talking. I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. That's all right. Just want to welcome everyone to the chat. Um, yeah, those hours, 140 hours a week. I mean, I remember when 40 hours a week was like, uh, you're dead at the end of the weekend because all you can do is, just rest for the 2 days that you had, Saturday, Sunday, go to church, do your thing, spend some family time, and then bam, back to work you went Monday through Friday. Now, me, I worked on, born, raised, and educated out of Brooklyn. And, I worked on Wall Street for 12 years for one of the major investment banking companies on Wall Street. Then went over to another investment banking firm for 6 years. Wall Street had a little bit of a turn in terms of insider trading, and they were going through some issues and stuff like that. And this was before 9/11 happened.
Hmm.
And I just found myself, working those kinds of hours. We're talking about hours worked. You didn't work your regular 40 hour on the
No.
job. You worked 40 hours, but in order to stay up with the job, you had to put in more time.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know, and it was just quite amazing. Me handling that kind of a stress environment, because we're dealing with money from all over the world. We're dealing with stocks, bonds, futures. We're dealing with, it's almost like I coined it a big casino on Wall Street.
Yeah.
you know, everyone has got their money in their hand. They want to know what to buy, what to sell, when to get in, when to get out, and things of that nature. And it took its toll, and I was able to at least navigate through that, and have a family, as I mentioned to you before.
Yeah.
And and the other most important part of it was balance. You can work, but you also have other responsibilities too, especially when it comes to family time, quality time, being able to obviously teach your children, things that are important and will be important for future matters for them,
Mhm.
as well as sustain and maintain, at least a decent, comfortable, respectable lifestyle as well. So I had to cut back on, the Wall Street thing and find other work, which, led me to other areas in the market that my background was able to complement, you know. So I seen the shift to go from where I was on, in the city, to the work getting involved with housing and urban development, housing counseling, first time home buying, and things of that nature, loss mitigation, foreclosure prevention. That's the work that I enjoy to date,
That's
doing that
nice.
part-time, and helping people save their homes, helping people to do, month-to-month budgeting, to make their dollars last a whole lot longer.
Maybe I need help with budgeting. I think there should be a budgeting class in high school
Yeah,
or something. You know?
yeah, and what's interesting is that, my father used to say, if you're making money, you're not broke. Only broke people not making money are broke.
True.
And it took a little while for that to settle. I don't know, Dad. I think your days growing up are different than my days growing up. He said, no, 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 no. Just put it on the table, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And he was absolutely right, because you live within your means, and you learn to build security in what you do for yourself first. You
I'm
see that?
sorry. I'm
Yeah, that's
pouring
okay.
some Sprite. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yes,
You
living within your means. I know, and it's hard.
Yeah, and it is. But once again, balance comes back into play, where it's a responsibility. I used to sit down with folks and say, okay, show me your budget, show me what you've saved, and it would be always the number zero. When it talks to savings, well, if you're not saving, well, what are you doing? And we're spending everything that we're earning, just to make ends meet. to pay for the house, take care of the food, take care of the children, take care of the car, the mortgage payment, the insurance, and on and on. So, well, one of the lessons even out of the Bible, when it talks about saving 10%, that 10% has to come off the top first,
Right.
and then you pay everything else, that your necessities and things of that nature to sustain your life. And people like looked at me and says, "What?" Like it was a new concept. I said, "No, that's a principle. That's a law. That's what you're supposed to do."
The tithing
You know?
concept isn't that Old Testament? Really, it goes
Yeah.
way back.
Definitely. So when we would restructure budgeting and everything, and tell people, you take your 10% off the top before you do anything else. That'll be your security blanket in the event of an emergency, and then you can handle the emergency with whatever you saved. Without savings, you're not ready for an emergency. And then they started to get it, and that's the kind of education that we're able to, offer the public when it comes to housing counseling and first-time home buying and things of that nature, foreclosure prevention, you name it. But getting off of me, mental health and wellness seems to be a very, very heavy topic in today's environment. And one of the things that I know that out of it, there are many different things coming out of this. Folks with high blood pressure, we're living in a COVID environment. We have a change in the workforce. We have a change in the educational fields, high reports of alcoholism, drug use, increase in domestic violence.
Yeah.
We've got kids going missing, and I mean a host of things. In this environment, Dr. Latina, what are some of the things that, I guess out of the work that you do with families, with children, with adolescents, what are some of the things that you recommend from your day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month type of recommendations when it comes to addressing some of these issues? What are some of the things you talk to them about?
Well, I mean, what's really interesting is I do think that there's no doubt about the fact that the quarantine from 2020 increased the depression level and domestic violence way up, because people were in close quarters who normally wouldn't spend as much time together. And I mean, the particular communities that I work with are really what I call vulnerable communities, because they have often issues around poverty, lack of insurance for dental and health care.
Right.
So, we see a lot more, I see quite a bit of depression, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And a lot more, I think there is domestic violence throughout all the communities with whom I work. I see a lot more drug and alcohol actually in the Caucasian community in the rural area where I work.
Right.
There's a big heroin problem amongst Caucasians in Western New Jersey. And it's really horrible. And I've lost quite a number of patients to heroin overdoses. So it's just, I mean, the whole topic of mental health is really, it's a huge thing to bite off. And I think it depends on, which community we're talking about and, what age group, I'm dealing with. It's
Right.
So, I don't know, do you want to focus the question more, or maybe the chat? I see all these people saying, hi. Yes. And then, I'm sorry to do this, but I just saw One Eye Open said we're missing children. And there's no doubt about that. And I think that the true crime community on YouTube, which I only really got involved with about 15, 18, right at the beginning of the quarantine, because I was at home. I'm like, what am I going to do?
Right.
With my extra time. So I found out about YouTube had more than just do your own notebooks and things like that. And I discovered the true crime community here with you all. And so I began to follow some. And I have noticed over the past year of the, let's say 18 months that I've been, following you all,
Right.
there is much more attention being paid to missing children and children of crime, victims of crime, and
Right.
it is frightening.
Yes, it is. And it seems to be accelerating for some strange reason, to say the least. Every time you turn around, whether it's, the couple of days within a week, there's another missing child. There was one out of New Jersey. I think it's Orange County, New Jersey.
Right. She's from East Orange.
Josiah Moore. Yeah, she was found in Brooklyn.
Yes.
And, first it was a missing person. Then the news conference posted it as, she was a runaway. And then they turned around and obviously, I think, arrested the mom
Yep.
for neglect and some other things that are starting to depend on it, And so, more and more we hear these stories now coming out, and you're saying, well, what the hell's going on these days with folks? Biological families, adoptive parents. I mean, you name it. I mean, the society in and of itself, the environment, it seems to be shifting more directed at the households now that involve children than just the anything related to gang wars and stuff like that, like they had in California, Chicago, and sometimes in New York. So the environment is changing. And that's why I asked that question to say, when you hear these things, when you're, I guess, conversing or consulting with family members, adolescents, children, and things of that nature on some of the things that you recommend them do, whether it be something that they could read, something that they could listen to, some type of physical exercise that they can involve themselves with. Tools that they can use to change their mental state from a negative position, things of that nature. Is there anything like that?
I mean, I think you're absolutely right. And I do have some ideas that I could bring to your table talk if you want.
Beautiful.
But I think the thing that I find, and I am really struck by many of the chat communities on true crime, is there are a lot of survivors within the chat community dealing with history of SA, DV, other types of trauma. And it is striking to me how many people really are still, based on chats that I've been in, live chats, are still in situations that are very traumatic, violent, etc. And one thing I'm really amazed about in this community is that there are so many people trying to help each other and say, well, you can try this, you can try that. Here's the 800 number for X, Y, and Z. And I think that for me, I know I'm a little off topic. I'll give you my little ideas in a minute, but it is so life-giving that this YouTube true crime community, well, the part that I've been drawn to, is so uplifting for each other and creates the channels that I involve myself in, really create like what I call, I hate this word, it's overused, but like safe space for people to express and to dialogue about their history and their personal stress, anxiety, etc.
Right.
And that in and of itself is a really positive thing to do, because especially, and I think you're probably around the same age as I am. But even back in the day, people would meet for coffee more. You would just have more sense of community. The churches were more active. There was just much more sense of community. But as the past 10 to 20 years, I think that whole sense of living in a community or living in a village or living in a town, etc., people can live so sort of independently and anonymously that they end up feeling like they have nothing or nobody to turn to if they are struggling with something. And so this brings me kind of full circle to your question of what can you do? And I am definitely a proponent of counseling and therapy. And my patients, for the most part, where I currently work, if they have any significant amount of trauma, depression, mood disorder, whatever, marital problems, etc., we are really almost required to refer them to our behavioral health department so they can receive counseling, which I think is wonderful. And it's not just here's a magic pill and good luck to you, because I don't believe in magic pills.
Right.
I think that the negative, so to speak, that I've seen over the many decades is that when people go to counseling and therapy, very often they're not given tools to take home with them and to be able to say, okay, work on this week. Or if you're getting upset, this is how you can regulate your anxiety. And I really try to give my patients, it depends on the age, it has to be age appropriate, different tools, exercises, whatever you want to call them, in order to be able to help themselves to get better.
Right. Sort of like self-care.
Self-care, exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Going way back, and I don't know where I learned this, and this is something that seems so fundamental and silly in a way, but I learned this in medical school. And what we would, especially with children, because children often have difficulty finding out what is their emotion. And neurologically, they often go from like happy to a temper tantrum when they get tired. It's this all or nothing effect. And part of, being a good parent and trying to be a good physician is to equip children with an ability to say, what are you feeling? Use your words, kind of thing. So I learned this thing, which was, and it was like 4 little faces, emojis, really what they call them now. And we were taught, ask the patient, and we would draw a happy face, a sad face, a mad face, and a glad face, which is just the no smile, just
right.
And we would ask the patient, okay, so how are you feeling today? And this is even as a family doctor doing my pediatric visit with somebody, not just in psychiatry. Right. And then people would often say, I don't really know. And so I would say, and it seems so goofy, but it really does work. Are you feeling happy, sad, mad, or glad? And they'd be like, So then, and even to this day, I'll get out a paper towel at my office and I'll draw the 4 faces and I'll say, point to one face that you feel most often. And it really does open up conversation. And I was reflecting upon this today because I knew that I was going to come on Table Talk and we were going to talk a little bit about self-care. I do recall back about 25 years ago when I was up in Rhode Island doing, a lot of obstetrics and et cetera. I remember a young husband came in. He couldn't have been more than 30. And there was some devastating situation going on with the wife and the family. And the husband, and I think it's unfortunately because of the sort of the mask of masculinity that is forced on little boys at a very young age. Boys don't cry. If you're strong, you don't cry, that kind of thing. That I think very often I find that men more than women have their emotions, but they have trouble identifying what their emotion is. Are they angry? Right. So I remember sitting across my desk and saying to him, tell me how you're feeling about this. What's going on? And he was like, I don't even know. And he goes, what do you mean by feeling? What do you mean by that? And I was really struck. I was like,
wow.
And I said, so what do you mean? And he's like, nobody's ever asked me. This is a 30-year-old man. Nobody's ever asked me what I feel. He said, so what are the possibilities? And I was just really struck by that. So I took out a piece of paper and I said, okay, I drew the 4 faces. And that was the first time I'd done that on an adult. I'd always really done it on children. And I turned it around and I said, okay, this is happy, sad, mad, or glad. And he was like, And he sat there literally for about 5 minutes. And he's like, I'm not sure. Well, and then he went to the mad and he said, I'm very angry about whatever the issue was. And we got to talking about that. And then he started to cry. And he said, now I'm feeling really sad. So it was such a good tool. And I guess that's such a fundamental, silly tool in a way, but that could be something that can spark conversation even at a family dinner,
Right.
even like who's happy, sad, mad, or glad today, that kind of thing.
Right,
It
right.
conversation, or even for those folks that are dealing with stress, like even folks in the chat, that's something that they can ask themselves. What am I feeling now? And because it rhymes, it's easy to remember. So that's
Right,
one
right.
tool.
I mean, that's a great tool. I mean, as simple as it sounds, and as easy as the application can be, it is a conversation starter, to ask someone how they feel. Sometimes when you ask them, they don't know. Most of the times, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Was it yesterday? Was it an hour ago? Was it 5 minutes ago? Or, am I, thinking about how I'm going to feel after I leave your office? Or, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know is, where people are spinning with uncertainty. And I guess the focus is, how do you feel now? If there's anything that you can describe about how you feel right now, what would you tell me? You know, and depending on how they felt, they could at least begin to break the ice, identify, like you said, begin to identify their state, their emotional state. They can tell you how they physically feel, and then
Mhm.
that can become a conversational piece as well. So you had sent me, and I'd like to share this with the room,
Sure.
something interesting and something that people can screenshot and use for themselves. And I can share that in a heartbeat. And this is something simple under the self-care and emotional regulation.
Mhm.
And just let me know when you can see that.
I think, is there a way for you to get to number 4?
Believe I just wanted to let everyone see the title, and then I
Oh,
can pop it
yeah,
up. Maybe
yeah.
I can reduce the size a little bit if it's too big. I wanted it big so that the chat room
No,
could
that's
see
good,
it.
I think. They
Yeah,
could screenshot it or something.
yeah. Let me just drop this down. It's at 135. Let me go to 125. Yeah, 125. And you sent me this, and it's simple. It's called Stop.
Right.
And it's a
I use
beautiful
it.
tool. If you can just take us
Yeah,
through it a little bit.
sure. Well, I mean, I think that a lot of us, myself included, I have a very stressful life, and especially at work, I find that there's more stress, and sometimes there can be confrontations with coworkers or patients that escalate and get angry and whatever, and then I feel like I want to get angry too. And sometimes, especially, I have patients who are telling me off and screaming at me, and I want to go, stop screaming at me, and that's not really going to help. So obviously, the one tool that I use, it's in my mind whenever I feel that I'm beginning to maybe escalate, is that I use this acronym STOP. And it's just something that I can do. And I tell other people and patients that they can do. It's easy to remember because there's no time to open a book and go, I'm really upset now. What am I supposed to do right now? What questions? But so the STOP acronym is STOP, obviously. So number 1, I'm going to give an example in a minute. I'll give an example of something like I might do.
Okay.
But so number 1 is stop. So stop what you're doing. Just take a pause momentarily. Number 2, T. Take a deep breath, because your breath does anchor you. It does remind you, I'm a living, breathing person. A lot of times when you escalate in anxiety or anger, we hold our breath, and it's
Right.
unconscious.
Right.
So just bringing that good oxygen in is good. And then the O of the stop is to observe. And I'm just going to read this, and then I'll give you an example of what I do.
Okay.
So notice what's going on around you. How do I feel about that? And what am I feeling inside? Tense, pissed off, angry, sad? What am I feeling? And then once I've identified that, and all of those steps might take you maybe 10 to 15 seconds, we know that the brain, if you stop for 15 seconds or a little more, hopefully, you will be able to neurologically regulate your emotions. It really does work on a granular sort of neurologic, physiologic level, so that you can go to P, which is proceed with what you were doing. Of course, the proceed, by the way, is not smack the person or scream out loud, obviously.
Right.
Hopefully you proceed more gracefully, more judiciously, and in a more measured fashion, right?
Right. Oh, in other words, with a changed state,
Exactly.
you're taking yourself from, you're identifying a negative state that you don't want to feel. You're pausing for a moment. You're taking a deep breath, because your breath does anchor you to the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
You're identifying or trying to observe what's happening around you, what's going on around you, what are you feeling inside. Once you've identified that, then you can say, how do I want to change that? What do I want to change it to? How do I want to feel now about this thing, or this person, or this place, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the situation is?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can recalibrate your state. I think
Mm-hmm.
that that's what stop tells me. Recalibrate yourself. Reboot your system for a moment. You've just taken a hit by something, a piece of mail, an email, a phone call, a neighbor, a co-worker, someone at the store, someone in the parking lot, someone at the supermarket, whatever, that took you out of your natural state. You were fine without them, and now they've brought you to a state you don't want to be in. So stop is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very simple, easy to remember, and quite frankly, easy to do.
It is easy. I'm looking at V713. I'm going to answer her question in a few minutes here. V713, I've seen your question. I'm sorry to hear about your daughter passing. That's horrible. Very, very difficult. And I am going to try to answer your question in a few minutes. So I'll give you an example of a stop moment for me. So somebody, I'm leaving this very general, at work, got a little attitude with me in front of a lot of people, and started to scream, and not quite scream, but get very loud. And then I was like, I couldn't believe it. So my response when I get angry a lot is that I want to, it's a very, in some ways, female or maybe cultural way that I was brought up, is I want to cry, not because I'm sad, but because I'm mad. Or I want to tell them to F off if they're telling me to F off. So for me, and I can think of this happened a few months ago, the stop moment for me was the person yelling at me in front of a bunch of people and everybody going and watching to see what was my reaction going to be. So I took the stop before I opened my mouth and shot myself in the foot. Take the breath. And for me, the breath is really important, but observing is really important. And I literally remember myself stepping back and looking at this person and saying, something's wrong here, that they're behaving like that. This is all going on in my head really quickly. So something must be going on with them. They must be having a bad day, or they've got some significant problem. And as soon as I put myself into their shoes, and it took me, 10 seconds, I kind of felt sorry for them in a way, even though they were being totally rude to me.
Right.
And so then I was able to proceed, which was, I opened my mouth and I said, I said, you're being very unkind. And if you want to talk further about this, we can step out and we could talk privately, which is what we did. So does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think if I hadn't taken that, I could have either burst out crying or I could have started yelling back. And those aren't going to really benefit anybody.
Right, exactly. And the downside of it is that, it continues the negative state. It continues that pattern without that pattern being interrupted by something.
And I think I've seen many people through my work who suffer from like a panic disorder, panic anxiety, or a flashback from complex PTSD or domestic violence, where they get a sudden flashback and
Right,
they get palpitations. They get almost as if they're back in that spot, right?
right,
And the stop thing really does help there too, because it's very grounding, and you go through the same thing, but in the observation is, I feel like I'm back where I was. This reminds me of my ex-boyfriend. I'm just making this up. This is really scary for me, but I am. And then you said something. I'm really here right now. I'm not back there.
right, right.
All right,
It's
I can.
you're reminding me of something they call revivication. Where one is reliving a past experience, almost like if they're
Yes.
reliving it again. Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So I don't know if we should address, because I see the chat is
Is
extending
boom.
their consolation to V713 lost her daughter. I think,
Oh, I'm
yes,
sorry
she
to hear
said,
that.
and it sounds like she was a young person with 5 children. And you tell me if I'm wrong, V713, but you said that she died of a grand mal seizure and she left 5 young children. And your question really was, how do you deal, or how does a person deal with grief? And I think I don't have an answer really for that in terms of a magic pill or a magic, okay, this is what you need to do. But I think that in that instance, and John, you and I had spoken about this a couple of days ago, if you are an adult, like you were the grandmother, you were the mother of your daughter and the grandmother of her children, even if you're not a writing person, I think journaling is phenomenal. And starting a little journal, and it's not like you have to write and write and write, but starting a journal, and sometimes just saying to a person, just draw something, just draw a flower, just scribble. You could start as simply as that. And then you could move on with other sort of what we call prompts, the PROMPTS, prompts, where there's easy questions that, and I have like a bunch. In fact, I have a page of prompts that, I can give a patient and say, okay, why don't we work on this prompt for the week or whatever, and come back and let's look at how that prompt worked for you.
Right.
So in terms of grief, first thing I would obviously want to offer you my consolation. I mean, it's just awful what happened to you, and I'm so sorry, and I'm sure it's incredibly raw still for you.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm really sorry to hear that. It's just very difficult. But I do think that getting through your grief, I think doing concrete steps like a journal, or for instance, I have quite a number of people who've had pregnancy terminations, and they'll come to me and they'll say, 20 years ago, I had an abortion and I still am upset about it. I'm still like, I knew it was the right thing to do. I see so many patients like this, but I'm sad, and they'll cry about it. And they're like, I cannot get this out of my mind. I can't. I don't know how to forgive myself, whatever the issue is for them. So for that kind of grief, and I also use this suggestion for folks that have lost a family member, whatever, is I often will tell people, do something concrete that gives back to the world. So find a tree, like an arbor society, where you can actually donate and plant a certain number of trees in the memory of that baby from miscarriage or abortion, or in memory of your child or your parent. One patient had a child very unexpectedly die who was like a teenager, and the child had some drug issues, and they actually bought a park bench, and with the permission, obviously, of the addiction center, they had that park bench set there, and they had the name of their child in memory of, and the birth date and the death date. And it was a place where people could come sit and talk. So that's something. I remember that my father, he was so close to his mom, and I was really close to my grandmother. I mean, they stayed with us very often. My father at his office of practice created a prayer garden where he also put a beautiful park bench, and then he planted impatiens and other perennials and annuals. And he never put a plaque or anything on it, but really, and I practiced in that same office property, little old house. But he used to tell me every time I go by that garden in the morning and I go into my office, I say, "Hi, Mama." And I remember her, and I feel sad, but I feel glad. So I think doing something concrete and giving back in some positive way does help us as human beings, to process that loss. Though I think that, it's always going to be raw at some level.
Yeah. And, especially if in the grieving state itself, when I lost my parents, it was a very difficult time for me. And good thing that I had a very caring uncle who checked up on me and whatnot. And, just to help me to, I guess, identify my feelings. It's a feeling of loss. He was able to, help change my state by helping me to remember all of, the good learning times of my life with my folks and everything. And it helped to have someone there. And I think that that's the missing component, for a lot of folks that are in a grieving state that have had a loss of some kind, where something is missing and you're never going to see it again. And it feels like you're always going to feel this way because you're going to miss this thing forever now, but to bring back moments of, courage and compassion, and know that, life will move on. Life will step forward. Life will continue to evolve, and all of their moments with you, all of the lessons that they try to teach you. Now you've got to take those lessons and carry forward the family value of those lessons. And and this was just me.
Right.
I'm not going to say it's a heal all, work all kind of thing. It was for me, and it helped me to break my state, my focus on the loss, to, I got to get back, to doing what I was doing. Mom and Dad would be proud of me if I started stepping forward, becoming the person that they wanted me to become, and generating that motivation to push forward from that. Definitely helped me to evolve from a traumatic state of loss to a point to where I became productive, being motivated by it, for myself and my family going forward.
I think what is, I agree with you.
Just to share that with,
and were you a young person when you lost your parents?
I was in my late 20s.
Oh, you were young.
Yeah.
So that's really hard because you're still in your formative years.
Yeah.
You know,
So
that's very difficult.
yeah.
But I'm thinking about V713. I mean, the thing is that when it's a child,
Right. It's
it's a little different because then it sounds like her child was an adult child. It's a little harder to say, well, what did they teach me? Or, you know what I'm saying? Because I do the same thing with my father.
Mhm.
I was a mess until, you know, probably 4 months ago or so. It was really even hard. And then it was hard because my patients, a couple of them actually, I didn't even know this, but they, with the little residence that my father was in, they were one of the caregivers. And I walked in and they were like, Doctora Salerno, oh, your father's in heaven now. I'm like, excuse me? I was like, what? And they were like, we loved him. He was great, but he's going to be okay. And I just burst out to crying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so unexpected because the person knew my father, right? But what I was going to tell you is, as because my father was really like my mentor in a lot of ways, what I decided, the only way I ultimately was able to kind of get out of that rawness in public kind of thing is that I decided, I mean, he taught me so much, little pearls about medicine, so much, so that when I'm at work every day, I try to think of one thing that my dad taught me, and I'll invoke his name to my medical assistant, to my patients, whatever, and I'll say, now my dad taught me blah, blah, blah. And they'll be like, really? I'm like, yes. And then, you know, whatever it is about medicine. And that way, at least I feel that I am carrying on his legacy, and I am, you know, passing on some wisdom and some measure of, you know, compassion to other people. And then I feel more empowered and less, you know, grief stricken.
Yes. You said it better than I did. Yeah, you know,
I don't think it, no, it
you're
makes
absolutely
a different way of saying it.
You're right there. No, you're right there. And that's exactly how I felt when my uncle, you know, helped me to come from that place as well, you know. And yeah, that's a perfect way of saying it. That's why you're the that's why you're the doctor. See?
I don't know. Because I mean, then I struggled with my own grief too.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, it's tough. And this is such a deep. We're having such a deep table talk. I mean, usually
This
your
is what table talk is about.
is it? I don't know, because the ones I've come to, your table talks have been more sort of happy.
Yeah, well, we get into a variety of life, you know, as it unfolds, as it reveals itself. You know, there are highs, there are lows, there
Mm.
are, you know, various different levels that we all live in,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to have a platform that will encompass all of that from time to time, you know, uh, and it's that to me is a great platform I would want to look into, because you know, if it's about music, it's about music. If it's about content creation, it's about content creation on YouTube. If it's about you know, health and wellness, we can talk about that. If it's about relationships, if it's about law enforcement, if it's about, we can fill that whole dynamic,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and just cover it all. And that's why I created Table Talk, just to have that variety, because life has lots of variety in
Oh,
it
it
as
certainly
well.
does. It
Yes.
really does.
Now, there's also something else you sent me called coal.
Oh, coal, yes.
Right. And I'll share that with the room.
It was really funny because I used this. I'll tell about coal in a second if you want to pop it up.
Yes, I'll bring it up. Yep, I will pop it up. And you can let me know when you see it.
Look, I see it. Hold on 1 second. I want to see what this person's saying.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm reading V. I read very slowly. Very few I can understand this pain. I know. I mean, the grief, it can be, the word that I use, V, is raw. And I did see somebody earlier in the chat a couple minutes ago recommend maybe there is a local like bereavement group through your, maybe either in the community where you live, or if you belong to a church community, sometimes they'll have a bereavement group, and that can help. Although I personally would feel that I'd be more depressed because I would be like hearing, I don't know, for me that wouldn't work, but for other people it does work. But I agree with John Q that, having somebody like he had his uncle to talk to about your loss is very important, because, human beings are people of we're social beings. We're like a tribe. We need others, and to sort of process that grief by yourself is, I think, unwise. Yeah.
Right.
But even if you do a journaling, somehow to get outside of your own thoughts by doing something either concrete, like I talked about, or journaling, or a bereavement group, something like that. Now, I'm sorry, we're going to move on to Cole.
Yes.
Okay. Cole is an acronym that it actually, and I wish I should have written down who the person is that developed this acronym, but it basically is more used for young people because it's been tested and used and more successful, let's put it that way, on young people, adolescents, and young adults, because the goal of Cole is to be more accepting and more loving of people. Although I think we all could be more accepting and more loving of one another. And so I was talking to my daughter about this last night. I have a 19-year-old daughter as well. And I was saying, okay, so Cole, and she's like, well, give me an example. I'm like, I'm going to give you an example of what you did to me the other day. And she's like, okay. And so I'm going to give you the example first, and then I will explain how Cole works. And I explained it to her, and she was like, that is really good. I'm like, right. Think about Cole next time, honey. So I was the other day, I don't know, we were cooking, and somehow, do you all know that expression when people say, you're good, you're good? Like if you bump into somebody and then you say, oh, excuse me, and they say, you're good, you're good. Do you know that, John? Or
yes, I've heard. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you have an opinion about that? I'm just curious.
No, I mean, not right now.
I mean, for some reason, I can't stand it especially when it's like, I'm 60. So, and then suddenly like an 18-year-old kid, and I say kid, sometimes it'll be in a store and there'll be the clerk, and I'll say, oh, may I just, is it okay if I ask you such and such, or may I interrupt, whatever it is that I'm asking? And they go, you're good, you're good. And I feel like saying, what are you talking about? I'm good. I know what they mean. They mean, that's fine, no worries, or whatever.
Right.
But when I hear a young person tell me you're good, to me it feels, I don't know, I don't like it. Let's just put it that way. So my daughter the other night, while we're cooking, I said something and she goes, you're good, you're good. And I said, stop saying that. And she's like, why? Why does that always bother you? I said, because to me it feels almost flippant. I don't want to be told by a young person, you're good, you're good. I don't know. So she says, oh, that's ridiculous. So we got on this whole thing, you're so old fashioned, and what would you rather people say? And I said, oh, no worries, or go ahead, or something. But don't tell me I'm good. So she said, so we were back and forth and back and forth. And I said, okay, I guess I'm too rigid and old fashioned. I'll just accept I'm good. Every day people telling me you're good, you're good. So then we got onto the Cole thing, which is this acronym, which is used mostly for young people. And the goal of it is to be more accepting of others and more loving. And I think the reason it was developed for young people is because even though young people are supposedly more open and liberal and they can often be more judgmental of other peers or of older people or whatever.
Yes.
And so instead of saying, oh, mom, you're old fashioned and you're so uptight or whatever, wouldn't it have been nice to say, use Cole. So she said, well, tell me how I would have used Cole. I said, okay. Before you open your mouth and pass judgment on me and say you're old-fashioned, you're this, you're that, start with Cole. C, curiosity. So you could have said, instead of judging me and saying whatever, you could have said, well, exactly what is it about you're good that bothers you? Like, can you give me what's going on there? So that would be her curiosity. And then the observation would be her, instead of judging me and telling me I'm uptight, and just stepping back to observe my response, to, observe that I'm opening up more, that we're conversing with each other. And then for her, in her observation, to start to think, I might not agree with my mom. It's really no big deal that people are telling her you're good. But I think I need to accept that she is of a different generation.
Right.
And I think I need to accept my mom and love her despite the fact that she's uptight. So this is a little harder to use because it's not like the stop where you're like, stop, take a breath. This is a little bit more involved. But like my daughter and I said, let's work on Cole together. So that like if something else comes up, we're going to say, okay, let's take out the Cole acronym and let's work on this.
Okay.
Together. And I mean, I've honestly, I maybe shouldn't bring this up, but I've seen even in the true crime community that adults that we are, I've seen, especially recently, some like backstabbing, gossiping, that kind of thing amongst channels,
Yeah.
And in some ways, I think, wow, wouldn't Cole work for them, for us, to be able to say, instead of, that's ridiculous or whatever somebody's saying about somebody, instead to step back and be curious. I wonder why that person decided to do what they did. What is it about them that's different from me? Can I still accept their platform and their mutual interest, let's say in the Summerwells case?
Right.
Even though I don't agree with their foul language. I'm not making this. There are some creators I just can't stand that every other word is the F in this, the F in that. I just can't stand it. But if I turned off every channel that did profanity, I would be missing out on some fantastic content creators. So then I'm telling you about my own Cole here.
Right.
So then I've got to go, okay.
I could feel that. I can definitely feel that.
You know what I'm saying? Okay. So am I going to turn off and unsub from all these people because they drop the F-bomb 15 times a minute? Or am I just going to accept that maybe they're of a different part of life, a different culture, a different whatever, accept them and try to love them for who they are instead of standing in judgment of them?
Right. And for you, the way you've outlined it for yourself, if that works, it works for you. It keeps your equilibrium balanced, because that's the decision that you made for you, and that's great. For other people, they would have to work on it. Because I would look at it to say it depends on varying degrees. For the most part, for people to have a curiosity and observation and acceptance. And then number 4 is the hardest, because that's, it's an accomplishment, so to speak, when you can go back to love. But if you're looking at it from a subjective point of view for yourself, it's a great tool. Sometimes it can be hard because you're dealing with an exterior part of the world without, if you will. And you can decide to either turn it off or move on, change course, make other decisions, but still using the acronym COLE to help make that decision. Okay, I was curious when I first started. I stuck around,
Right.
saw what they did. There are certain things that I can accept, certain things I cannot accept. There's nothing to love here.
Right,
What do I
and
want to do?
unsub. I mean, yes, it doesn't have to
Exactly.
be, it doesn't have to be, I'll give you another example and I feel like I have in some ways a product of a very old-fashioned. I mean, I remember some colleague said to me, "What, were you born in like the 1800s?" I'm like, "No, I was not born in the 1800s." But it's just, some of the old world cultural values that I was brought up with, they are really old-fashioned, whatever, So I have to be a little bit more open. Yeah.
Yes,
So
flexible.
right? So
Yes.
I mean, I think one of the things that I'm just now getting better at in my practice is that, I mean, the way I was brought up, I mean, my father was like, if I find out that you've been messing around before you're married, I'm putting the suitcase out on the front door and you're gone. I'm like, oh. So I mean, can you imagine being brought up like really old fashioned that way? Okay. So then you go to medical school, you become a doctor, and you have patients that are like, I have patients very often that have had 25, 50 partners and they're like 30 years old. And I
Mm,
it's like I have to literally actively, instead of standing in judgment, I have to stop myself literally in my tracks and go, okay, I wouldn't have 25 partners. I mean, not at one time, but you know what I'm saying, or 50 over a
right,
lifetime. And they're only 30 years old. I have to stop myself and say, but I'm not them. And so then
right.
it's appropriate in the context of as being a physician. I will say, Cole, curiosity. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Like, are these hookups? Are these this? Are they, what's going on? Or no, I don't say it that way. And then they explain, well, my philosophy in life is just have as much, whatever there is, or, it can be much, much deeper than that. And I even had somebody recently said, you know what? All my friends do that. I never really thought about why I'm doing it. I said, that's interesting. And they were like, your question is interesting.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah. So we opened the conversation. Okay. And that included the observation. And then instead of saying that's just wrong or that's bad, I have to accept where they're at,
Right.
in their
Hmm.
brokenness or in their current cultural value system. And I have to try to love that person despite the fact that we may differ on our value.
Right.
So
Right. And then again too, they say little means more. So if I can, do the least work to get a major thing done, I would rather do that. So they come to a quick conclusion, and look for the fastest, most secure, easiest way out. A fight or flight kind of thing. Um, and so that's what most people do. Now in this instant gratification world, instant coffee world that we live in, you know, uh, if you have folks arguing or bashing or cursing and yelling and accusing and all of this noise, all of this stuff, just as a weapon to get over on someone or to beat someone down while they have the feeling of raising themselves up. You can identify that, and then you can say, well, I don't really have to deal with this. you
yeah,
know
I mean, I'm
and
not saying you have to love the person or love
right,
whatever
right,
and then be best buddies with them. Sometimes it's like,
exactly,
I have to try to accept that that's where they're at. I have to love them because they're a human being, but I'm out of here.
right,
You
exactly.
know?
My father used to say, if you can't get along with someone, get away from them.
Right. Yeah.
And you keep it simple and you keep it moving right along. And for me, I keep it simple. I keep it very simple. If we click and we have a good chemistry, we can accomplish something together. We're positive. We want to see the change that we expect in life to happen. We can move in that direction together, and bingo, we can make something beautiful happen. If we can't do it, I'm not going to waste my time because I know where I'm headed. You know what I'm saying? And so like minds attract other like minds,
Mhm.
both positive and negative,
Mhm.
in that dynamic itself. So it's interesting. You bring up some very great mental tools. I like to call them good
Yep.
points. Simple, easy to remember type of ways and means to change your state, so you don't get caught up in somebody else's state or somebody else's garbage or somebody else's stuff, because it's all stuff.
That's true. Yep.
So I'm glad you sent me also some very helpful recommendations on workbooks and internet links. I'm going to have these posted in the description box right underneath tonight's table talk. And I was able to visit a couple of these links that you sent me. I think they're sensational. They've got some very good tools there in regards to a host of different type of situations, especially if it's abusive partners, domestic violence, things of that nature. So thank you very much. I'm just sharing this a little bit with the chat right now.
Mhm.
But I'm going to post these in the description box below so that folks, when they come back after the live, or if, I'm going to post them right after the live, if they want to investigate and look into finding some tools for themselves, information for themselves, to better educate and understand some of these things that we're talking about tonight, they will be posted in the description box.
I feel bad in a way, sorry to interrupt, but like I see Nan Paplowski said, I'm out of here, peace, love, goodbye, because I guess somebody else said that they were a hippie. And you see, I don't want to sound, I hope that they didn't think I was sounding like too much in judgment. I'm actually was trying to express my own judgment.
Yes, your own personal, right.
And how I need to be more open-minded. So I please hope that you don't feel that if you were a flower child, somebody said I was a flower child, I'm good for you. And I just hope that you don't feel like I was standing in judgment of you. I really use the example of my patients that often have many partners, because I have to take off my cultural blinders, let's say, and say, listen, I got to open myself up and try to understand more, rather than saying it has to be my way or the highway kind of thing.
Right. And yeah, that makes sense, and I thank you for sharing that from your, point of view, from your perspective, as you
see here, she said, no, love what you had to say. Okay, Nan, I feel better.
Love what you had to say. Okay, there you go.
Okay, that's good, because
I really for the good part.
Good, that's good. But because I don't, my goal, on Table Talk or wherever is not to bring people. I'm actually trying to express my own brokenness, and that I feel like I have this one expression, like there is no perfection in life. There's just progression towards perfection. And I just feel like every time I wake up every day, I'm glad for a new day. And I say, I'm just going to progress. If I can progress and be a better person and learn something, then I've had a good day.
Yes, that's a very good thing to say. Very good thing to say. We are going to just take a quick break, and we're going to set up for the next session, which is going to be a very interesting one indeed. And we shall be right back. So don't go away.
Body to be global.
Murder. It's like we losing our people every day. 'Cause anywhere that we go, we ain't safe. It became such a long line, they wait at the gate. They talk about wearing masks, but we must pray. Our people are fading away. Sick of dealing with this nonsense. I'm really thinking Satan's appetite is bottomless. Yeah, he tried it then, but we gon' get up out of this. Satan, you a coward and the government is siding with him. But one thing about it, my God is merciful, true. And two things about it, he's still working for. You took my mom, you took a whole lot of black women. Now we behind this, gon' take some time to get back in it. Yeah, we black, but are we that different? To send a virus to our people to make them go missing. It's like they trying to keep my people sitting in detention. They put this virus on this earth, but they forgot to mention I really need my spiritual people to listen. Cause this is only the beginning, this is never ending. And for my people in my cities, know I'm riding with you. And I'm riding to the end. It's like we losing our people every day. Cause anywhere that we go, we ain't safe. It became such a long life as they wait at the gate. They talk about wearing masks, but we must pray. Our people are fading away.
It's time to pray. In this time and stay, gotta dig deep down for faith. Cause I know a lot of people that done lost their way, had lost their faith. God, if it gon' come down, right now it's time. Everybody around me dying, cause I'm tired of crying. I don't wanna give up and don't believe. I'm trying. My brother from another mother lost his brother. And that same brother from another mother lost his mother. That make us ask you why. We die. It'll turn to thunder and rain. We still on earth, we got days. Still gotta keep on wishing and maintain. I believe it's a better place than this earth we own. I'm feeling like boom. I hope we see y'all at the crossroads. If I knew for sure I could be in a better place than this state, I would take off and try to get to the front gates. And I hope I got a space. And we pray, and we pray, and we pray, and we pray every day, every day, every day, every day to stay strong and move on. Cause we ain't got no place that we can go and escape by our heads. Let's
We
fight.
losing our people every day. Cause anywhere that we go, we ain't safe. It became such a long line as they wait at the gate. They talk about wearing masks, but we must pray. Our people are fading away.
Okay, we are back. That was Mr. Boss Blake, Power Over the Enemy, featuring Crucial K. All right. So in our next segment, we are going to be getting into aspects. Doctor, you're okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was talking to you and I didn't realize I was muted.
Okay.
What I was saying is I love Bossman Blake's music, his voice, and his lyrics are profound. And
yes.
I just love that song that just was in.
Perfect for the occasion, I must say. Absolutely. We are going to be getting into our next segment. This is going to, just wanted to make sure you're okay for time.
Oh, I'm good. I just hope I don't know what the next segment, I can't remember I hope I know my answers.
Okay. We are going to get into, I guess, an area regarding the Summer Wells case.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And with that, I'm going to be just going over some information, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your observations concerning the current situation pertaining to the Wells family, and that's Donald Wells and Candace Bly. I'm going to go into a screen share right now so we can get set up.
Okay.
Okay. So with that said, we're going to post our fair use notice up here. We're going to be using information, photographs, material from the internet, both from the internet and most certainly from some content creators that I enjoy listening to. Fair use regarding the information contained in this video, this copyrighted material, used in which has not been specifically authorized by the copyright owner. We are making such material available for the purposes of criticism, commentary, review, and news reporting, as well as educational purposes, which constitute the use of fair use. And that's under Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Law, just to keep it short. And where was my other one here? We have also that law under the Copyright Law, Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Okay, so with that said and that posted, I will give credit to those content creators whose material that I use. And let me just go to my little photograph session here to bring up just some photographs of what we want to share and bring into tonight's discussion. I wanted to gather your commentary on what you've been able to learn so far following the Summer Wells case. This is the case of a young 5-year-old went missing June 15th out of Rogersville, Tennessee. Went missing from her home, which had her mother, her grandmother, and her 3 brothers. Those brothers' ages, I think, at that time were 9, 11, and 12. The 12-year-old just had a birthday pass, so he's now 13.
Mm-hmm.
And we also know that the boys were taken from the home due to an unlivable conditions at 110 Ben Hill Road, where the Wells lives. And Summer has been missing now since the 15th of June. We're going into a 5th month, the 15th of this month. And from, I guess, what you've been able to follow and to grasp and to cover, you were on the Interview Rooms channel with Chris McDonald and did a segment with him.
On Hunter, yeah.
Yes, that was a great segment in identifying one of the folks, a couple of the folks that Chris had interviewed during his time down in Rogersville, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And so from your perspective, I guess, can you share with us some of your observations concerning what you've been able to learn about the case?
Well, I mean, how do I say this? I think that this case is almost like an onion that you just keep peeling and peeling and unpeeling layer by layer by layer by layer. And you cry at every layer because onions make you cry. But this is really, to me, one of the most complex cases that I have seen in terms of like victimology. And it is so complex that I don't really have one theory of what could have happened, although I have a top theory. But I see this as complex, John, because it is not only about this beautiful child that we're looking at right now and her disappearance allegedly from the home, but it's about generational and multi-generational really pathology, addiction, poverty,
Mm-hmm.
SA, DV. I mean, it's, and as Chris McDonough has said so eloquently, you have the Summer Wells case on one train track, and then you have the past lives, not just of Dawn, but of that entire family, multi-generationally, including Candace's side, sort of paralleling. But there's also crossing over of pathology and possible criminality in terms of what did happen to her.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to ask me a question? I mean, yeah, it is so complex.
Yeah. So in some of these photographs that I was able to actually put together and
Yes.
post for tonight's table talk to speak with you about, we see a dramatic change in Summer's appearance during the course of the almost now 5 months. Photographs that were taken during her times being with the family.
Mhm.
And we see her in the first picture with her beautiful long blonde hair. And then all of a sudden, we see her now at the what appears to be the swimming hole that they went to
Mhm.
on the day that she did go missing, here with short hair.
Or
And there was
shaved.
many, yeah, or shaved, yeah. And there were many folks that made commentary about the reason why her hair was just cut so short.
Mhm.
I believe Donald and Candace had brought up the fact that Summer, cut her own hair, and that she wanted to be like the boys or be like mom and things of that nature, as I guess his way of giving us an excuse as to the reason why her head was shaved. And to see the transformation, I guess, from certain other pictures to more current pictures is extraordinary in terms
Yeah.
of what was going on with little Summer during these times of her young age up until the time she went missing.
I think I
And
just wanted to mention the hair is the most shocking piece of it. But I think if you also look, and you really can't see it here, but she had a marked weight loss. I mean, she went from being apparently looking well nourished to this picture, if you can hold on to this for a minute, I just noticed something about her, to being undernourished. I mean, quite profoundly. And one of the things I was going to point, you guys can't even see me pointing to this picture, but if you look on I'm going to put it on my face, like these are the
let me
temples.
just do this real quick. If I can get, yeah, if I can just put them side by side here for a second, I can get another shot up. Let me see. Where is she? Okay, she's coming up. I'll be able to do this.
Yeah, you really can't see it here because the hair's covering the temples, but her face is fuller. Yeah. But I'll just point out the temple area on the shaved
thing
head.
I wanted to. And let me see if I can do this real quick. Shorten it. Go back and do this and shorten it.
Okay.
And then move this here. Okay.
So
I think I have it set up.
Yeah.
Here.
You can't really see the temples on the hair where it's long, but here, if you look at this part of her face on the shaved head area, you can, I don't know if folks can see, it's very subtle, but it's there, that there are two sort of indentations, whereas normally in younger people, the temple area is full, like your cheeks are kind of full, it's a little fuller here. But if you look, I'm pointing as if everybody can see. Anyway, the purpose of seeing how that she has that little divot going in on both sides is, from a medical standpoint, what we learned way back in the day is that when a person has those divots and they are missing, unless they're over 60, then you do begin to lose mass here. But if you're a young person, or even 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and you've got that the divots there, that represents that you're underweight by at least 10% of your body weight. So in other words, that right there, when I look at her face and her temples, I as a physician can say, this girl is at least 10% below her ideal body weight. She's malnourished.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very concerning to me. The shaving of the head, honestly, I'm going to sort of tell you the first impression, because that's the first picture I ever saw of Summer, probably the day or two after she went missing. It was when she had that little turban on, the little bandana, and
Right.
shaved head. And they said, this child's missing. And my reaction was, oh no, she's missing and she's got cancer too. I thought she was on chemotherapy because she looked so thin. She had hair that appeared to be just beginning to grow back. And I thought she was a victim of childhood cancer. So that's pretty striking to me. Just the fact that's what struck me. And then we got into some long conversations. I don't remember, on some panel I was on a few months ago, about what does shaving the hair represent. And I guess over the months I've morphed my idea, because now I've seen, and I'm sure I've seen this in chat, where people have seen Facebook photos of other children in the same area where she lives, all with the hair down and dyed pink or purple, and then hair shaved. And some of those photographs appeared, and I saw that on a Facebook of a known offender, an S offender. So then the question is this shaved head, forget the lice. I honestly, in my 31 years, and I mean, I've even lived and worked in the third world, plenty of lice all over the place. I've never, ever seen anybody. Now, I'm sure it happens, but I have never seen it as a way to rid a child of lice. I'll just say
Okay.
that's number one, because I know that was one rumor. And then Don said, well, they each in that first interview said something different. Candace said,
Right.
the thing, she wanted to be like the boys, kind of. Oh, no, he said that. I don't remember. All I remember him saying is she shaved her hair in the back.
Right.
And then we went ahead and shaved the whole thing. And I'm thinking, what 5-year-old would have access to a shaver or a razor? I mean, right there, that story made no sense to me. That she shaved her own hair?
Right, exactly. A 5-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, that makes no sense, because she wanted to be like the mother. And then the mother saying, oh, whatever. And back and forth it went. That made really no sense. Early on, when people were discussing the hair shaving thing, I remember a social worker made a very good point on a live chat, saying that she, as a social worker, considered shaving of the hair really like an abuse, a child abuse, in the sense that if it was done as a punishment, then it's the punishment that keeps on giving, because especially for a girl, generally, and I can speak for myself, I mean, hair is our crown type of thing. And if you're going to shave a child's head, and it's a girl, as a punishment, let's say, that according to the social worker, she saw that as, a really cruel thing to do. I, in that same chat, said that, I mean, I think shaving, for me, I know my dad used to cut all our hair, but I had, until their products did not exist, except for like maybe, I don't know, VO5 or something, Dippity Doo, who knows? But when I was growing up, there were no products. My hair was completely out of control. And I mean, I understand, because there were no my father would just take the scissors to them. It was almost as short as that. And I hated it. And it was not as a punishment. It was more like, we don't know what to do with your hair.
Right.
But my point is, I can remember being that age and sitting on the front lawn with my little undershirt on, my dad cutting our hair. And mine was cut as short as possible, because he couldn't get rid of all the curls in the frizz and this. And it was heartbreaking to me. So and it wasn't a punishment. So the whole thing is just strange to me. But I know we're not talking just about her hair. I think the hair is a sign of something much more nefarious going on. Okay. Especially when recently I saw there was some sort of a type of Amber Alert that came out that said, they described her and said she or he, like in other words, it might be that you think it's a boy. And I'm thinking, what was their goal? I mean, and it goes around to, one of the top 5 possibilities is that she may have been trafficked. And they changed her look radically.
Right.
I mean, so.
Right. And thank you for bringing that up, because, more so during the duration of the investigation, and then the different photographs that we see Summer in, and to see the transformation, occurred directly in our face. And then you have to say, well, okay, motive, what were they trying to do? And, that possibility, they changed her appearance for a particular reason, specifically on a particular day, dressing her up in brand new school clothes, according to what Candace said,
Mhm.
coming from the swimming pond, and putting on these clothes because she had them available in the car. I said, okay, well, if they're school clothes and she's not going to school, she's going swimming and then going back home,
Right.
why would she have the school clothes in the car?
Well, I
Yeah.
also thought it was a bit odd that the school clothes that she
Just
put on
one
her
point
were
of reference, yeah.
long
Mhm.
sleeve, almost late fall.
Yeah, and almost near 80-degree temperature during that
Mhm.
day,
Mhm.
June 15th, the
Mhm.
beginning of the summer, practically,
Right.
you know. So just moving on from this photograph,
Mhm.
and I appreciate you sharing your insights regarding the photographs. Let me just get this over here, and we can continue moving in that direction, because now we want to take a look at mom and dad here. And this is Donald and Candace. And when looking at this photograph, what stands out to you, doctor, in reference
Well, it
to
reminds me of that Gothic farmer. Do you remember? That famous American Gothic farmer? He's got his pitchfork
his
next to him, and his
pitchfork,
wife. Yeah,
getting
it
ready
reminds
to
me of that
bale
in a
the
way.
hay? Yeah,
Yeah,
out on
and
the
the wife
farm.
is
Yeah.
there, and yeah. So what is exactly your question?
What, if any, distinction do you see in reference to Donald and Candace standing side by side, obviously taking a photograph? What stands out to you in regards to
Well,
in
what has
regard?
always stood out to me, and I'm very cautious about saying this because I
Mhm.
haven't really met Candace in real life, and I've
Right,
not examined her, but based on this photo and then other interviews, but if I just look at this photo, to me, she really has like what I call the stigmata, or the some of the physical characteristics of somebody that has fetal alcohol syndrome. She's got very
Mm,
wide set eyes. She just has really no indentation here. I mean, they're just, if you take an image of a typical, not a photo, but just if you look, they have them online of somebody with fetal alcohol. She really has some of the findings. And then when I've heard her speak, I have wondered about her cognitive abilities.
mhm.
But
Okay.
it's hard to know because sometimes she seems so clever. But just based on this photograph, I think that he looks like he has lived a very rough life. I mean, I can't believe he's in his 50s, right?
Mhm. Yeah. I believe
Um,
56 years old.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that to me is rather shocking.
Yeah.
Every time I've seen Don with either his son, when he had his first public interview, he had Josie, the one that just turned 13, and he was holding Josie almost the same way with his arm wrapped around. And I've never really seen Don put his arm around anybody in a way that doesn't look controlling. To me, this doesn't seem like a loving thing. This seems more of a pull-in thing. So
Yes, that's a good observation. That is a very good observation because you said that, and we see his left arm right around her shoulders,
you
and
see,
then we can go back to a news report where Donald is talking to one of the reporters and one of his sons. I don't know if it was Wyatt or Josie or
no, it was Josie. Do you have that or
Josie.
no?
I don't believe I do. I can double check, but he also had his son in that way. And we also see the same representation uh, during the time that he was on the Dr. Phil show, where Dr. Phil was questioning Candace about whether she did anything to Summer. He had his hand, around her shoulder.
Hmm.
He had his hand physically. He came in contact with her during the tense moments of the interview, and I see the same position as we see his arm around her shoulder here. It is a controlling type of
Hmm.
gesture, if you
Hmm.
will, in the photograph, which reminded me of the same gesture that he had taken with Wyatt, and the same thing he did on Dr. Phil. And there were several other photos where, that same gesture was there, holding them close, keeping control,
Hmm.
maintaining the narrative.
Hmm.
Because this is his speaking platform right here.
Hmm.
She looks to me, if you take a look at the picture, at first glance, what is this old guy doing with this kid? Because she's wearing a
Yeah.
ball cap, she's got short hair, she's almost dressing like tomboyish, and I'm not trying to come off as judgmental, but it's just first impression stuff. This
I
is,
feel like she's stuck or fixated at an adolescent level, not necessarily intellectually or whatever, but
mhm,
she, the fact that she likes the TikTok and the way she dresses is very sort of like hip hop, but not somebody who's 39 or 40 years old. You know
right,
what I'm saying?
right,
So
yeah,
she does look
yeah,
like almost like a kid.
kid, right, right, and I'm going, wow, and which brought my mind back to the interview room with Chris Madonna when he is talking to Donald over the phone regarding his situation, if you will, regarding the allegations of the essay,
Hmm.
from before. And it's like, wow, we're talking about how old was he when this thing happened? Well, she was 5 and he was 12.
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, well, he's going for younger girls at an older age. And then
Right.
this popped up, and I said, wow, what's what's the matter with this picture? What's wrong with this picture? And it looks like some old guy. If you didn't know it was Don and Candace,
Right.
some old guy with some kid
I mean, I was going to say
is
that. I
what
mean,
popped up. Is
that's
what popped up in my
no,
in
I
my
totally agree with you though. And I think his, like Chris McDonough likes to say, past behavior predicts or can predict future behavior, right? We don't
yes,
know. But one
yes,
thing we do know is that Don is always, from his own confession on that telephone call, had proclivity towards younger girls or women. And even here,
yes,
let's say she's 39, he's 50. What is that? 30, 40, 50, 30, 40, 50. Well, it's a 20 something, it's only 20 years, I guess, 23 years. It's not terribly horrible difference, but still it is a big difference.
yes, yes.
So his
And that's what
proclivity
struck
toward,
me about this
yeah.
particular picture.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Okay,
I mean, this case, okay, go ahead.
okay.
Now, what
This
was the state?
picture gave me a yeah. This picture here gave me a little bit more of a close up of Candace, as you can see. Facial features. I almost thought, at one point, one side was more swollen than the other. One side more shrunk. then the other
Yeah.
one side up, one side
It's
down.
also at
You
an
know,
angle, but she does have that. There is an asymmetry.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And then identifying where they may have been at this particular location. At first appearance, it looks like a restaurant or some kind of food restaurant and everything. And then taking a look in the background here, I said, well, okay, that might be alcoholic beverages back here in a bar.
I thought it was a
Not
sports bar or
sure.
something.
Right. Exactly. So, to see the consistency of some of the places that they may have gone, and patroned before, that led up to any kind of habitual, um, let's just say, a substance abuse, alcohol, being around bars, being constantly under the influence of some kind of alcoholic beverage, in terms of Candace's case and everything. I just noticed certain things about some of the antics
Settings.
on. Yeah, exactly.
Now, this picture with those probably not a fair rendition because it's very up close and she is at an angle. So
Yes, she
it's hard
is.
to know if that's artifact.
Right. But I just found this picture
The
very, very
setting
interesting.
is not
It's
artifactual.
yeah, as they say, a picture speaks 1,000 words. I said, well, John, when you look at something like this, what comes to mind? How do you see Candace? Is she happy? Is she,
Yeah.
the four faces that we talked about,
Happy, sad, mad, or glad.
there you go. There you go. What is
I
she
would say
thinking?
this is definitely not happy.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not glad. It's either sad or mad
Hmm.
in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the consistency of the look. And we're going to take a look at some of the other photographs that I was able to find. And you'll see a very consistent pattern of this same look. So if we go back here,
But somebody in
so
chat just said that she just in her earlier years looked more attractive and happier.
yeah, when she had long hair, I believe she had long hair at the time before she cut it. Excuse me. So to see the different faces of Candace is very interesting, to say indeed. And as for Donald, I'm sure that you caught this particular YouTube video by the behavior panel when they interviewed Donald by himself, and I believe it was Greg Hartley and the other gentleman, I forgot his name momentarily. But I thought this was a good interview. I don't think they gave it all. There were certain segments of the interview that was made public, and this is what we got, versus additional information that wasn't made public, because that information obviously had to be sent to TBI for the investigation purposes of the case and everything. But there was a lot of telltale signs during certain questions regarding this segment. There's certain aspects of this that Donald is trying to remember, and then remembering, but also not telling. He was just teetering, and then he'll go into his amnesia statements. I can't recall. I'm not sure. Same thing he told Chris Madonna in the interview room during the telephone conversation. And so he's been playing this back and forth, I wouldn't say brilliantly, but calculatingly, at each time he's asked certain specific critical point questions regarding the whereabouts of his daughter. Were you at work? What did you do when you got home? And so forth. And so I just found this a very good piece of information concerning just Donald by himself.
Well, okay, so then from a physician's perspective,
Yes.
he has looking at the face, he has 1, 2, 3 stigmata of an alcoholic, One is he has something called, I'm pointing at this, nobody can see me, I'm sorry. If you look at his nose, it's he's got what we call, he's early rhinophyma, which is, it becomes more bulbous, and if you look at it, it's red, and it's kind of almost looks sponge-like at the end, and that is from alcoholism. You get flushing. That's the other one on the cheeks. You can also get telangiectasia, which are broken blood vessels, which I'm sure if I got a close-up of him, really, I mean, a real, not like close-up, but you know what I'm saying, if I could see him, he would have that as well. And look at the cherry red lips. Now, the cherry red lips may also be related to either the alcoholism or lung disease from his smoking. He does not have a good lung capacity. I hear him when he's walking and talking, and he really doesn't sound like he has very good lung capacity. So, I mean, this does not look like a healthy individual.
All right. Well, especially with him demonstrating on YouTube on several different platforms, him engaging with drinking. I think, he was on either No Thanks, Doug's channel,
Yes.
along with Joshua Diaz from the lab, when Chris Madonna was on there. And he literally pulled out a bottle of alcohol and showed him.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that, but I heard about that piece. But I saw him talking. But I saw him on some other where he sat down on the commode. He took his pants off and as if he was going to take a dump or something. I mean, he really did look like and some of the behavior that he had when he was sitting on the commode was, it was like he had a reaction that looked as though he had just injected heroin. I have to be honest with you. There was something that he did on that video that was, frightening.
He was definitely lit.
He was lit. There was
wearing sunglasses. He was wearing sunglasses.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
In the house, on the bowl. Okay, that works.
On the bowl, on the commode, on the crapper, whatever. But somebody just, you don't know me, asks me if I've noticed the steady decline of Candace over the last year or so. I don't know if it's over the last year or so, but I have noticed older pictures. She definitely looked happier and healthier, and she's declined for sure.
Okay. Here we have both Donald and Candace on the Dr. Phil show. Once again, I think I have a better picture. See if I can find it. This is a little blurry, but here, this is somewhat blurry. I wanted to try to get that a little bit clearer though. But the look, let me see if I can find that other picture.
Well, she definitely had she was eyeballing Dr. Phil. I mean, she was not happy being interviewed.
She was. Yes, she was.
Twing, bang. I mean,
and this is during this.
No, I mean,
go ahead.
I know that they gave her some either caps or teeth or something, sort of temporary bridges. I don't know. And they dyed her hair and put some makeup on her. I mean, they tried to pretty her up from the outside. And I had mentioned in some other chat that to me, they just have, I wish that Dr. Phil had offered them some help. I don't care about her hair dye or her false teeth. I wish that there would have been an offer for detox. Somebody asked about whether she's had a stroke.
I'm sure.
I don't think so. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's a good question too. Because that did cross my mind whether she did suffer from a past stroke that she was recovering from.
The only thing that points away, and other people have said Bell's palsy, but with Bell's palsy, you can't close. Okay, so which side is the weak side? She's able to close both her eyes evenly. I've watched her talk. I don't know. She has an asymmetric face. I don't, when she spoke on that first interview, is missing so many teeth. It was hard to know, has she compensated unconsciously and learned to talk a different way to cover her missing teeth? But I don't really see necessarily any signs of a stroke. Because if you really look at her when she speaks, she's, there are 12 cranial nerves, and she seems, all the cranial nerves seem to be working, and the muscles seem to be working. So, but I could look closer at a video, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what else we have here.
We didn't get to see that. That was something that Dr. Phil, right? That's from the Dr. Phil show.
Yes.
She's got the little eye makeup on.
Yes. Yeah, they definitely tried to clean her up for
TV,
for the television
right.
shows.
She's got the nail polish
shows that they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's really, really hard to read. She does look miserable, I have to say. But it's hard to know. Like,
I see the same, almost like a what kind of a stare is that when you're looking your what is the stare? I had it.
Okay.
It's coming to me. It's almost like a trance kind of stare where the eyes doesn't blink.
If you were in early dementia, we call what she's doing there staring into the middle distance. In other words, you're not looking at something up close and focusing. You're not looking, like, you're just kind of staring into the middle distance at nothing.
Right. Like she's in her own world.
Own world.
Yeah. And I see this type of picture in the different pictures that I was able to study. This same I'm off in my zone type of look. Never giving any type of identifiable contact to anything, whether she's looking at a flower, whether she's looking at a tree, or whether it's just this distant stare. She did the same thing on the interview room at the swimming pond when she was talking to Chris.
Again, I've never met her in real life. I haven't evaluated her or whatever, but there is a part of me that wonders if, I know she went through a lot of early childhood trauma herself, and,
yes,
I think her mother left, and so abandonment things. She, to me, just by looking at some of her behaviors in videos, which I prefer to look at videos than a still picture, that could just be a capsule in time or a slice of a moment. But she does, I wonder if she has some sort of an attachment problem, disorder kind of thing. Not full-blown necessarily. Reactive attachment disorder. Okay. And there, I mentioned this on, what was that place? It's called Sharon. It's a Down Under Crime.
Down Under.
And I spoke the other night, she invited me on a panel. I talked about the two types of reactive attachment disorder. One is what most people think of of the children that are adopted from Russia, maybe a decade or two ago, but even now, often will come with reactive attachment disorder, disinhibited. They're disinhibited, and it's because they were not held, and they were in orphanages and fed themselves the bottle, etc. And that disinhibited reactive attachment disorder is often what you see with those folks is they don't attach and have, loving ability to connect, but they're the kids or the adults that light the fires, slam the cat against the thing, very sort of angry and disinhibited, right? Then that other type of reactive attachment disorder is called the inhibited type. And that type is what I would, if I were going to say what she maybe has, and that is a person who doesn't attach well. So you don't see a lot of cuddling, hugging. You see an avoidance in gaze, an avoidance in emotion, a flat affect. It's all about being so sort of inhibited and unable to connect that you are in your own sort of little world. You're not autistic or anything. It's just an inability. I just don't see her. Have never really seen her. Maybe you could show me some other pictures where she's,
Yes.
cut, like we say in Spanish, cariñosa. Cariñosa means like lovable, cuddly type. I don't know how to say it in English.
Sort of
but
like a being affectionate.
yes, that's the word.
Closeness, yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And
Yep.
yes, D. Adams, that is the word I might have been looking for. Dissociative. Dissociative.
Oh,
Yeah, not being connected or disconnected, if you will. And that's the way she looks in a lot of the different photographs that I was studying, just regarding, the different environments and different settings that she was in. And she would always have this disconnected type of stare.
yeah.
I'm not really looking at anything. I'm more in my mind than I am in the world. I'm
But it's hard to
thinking.
know. Is that,
It's almost she's like in deep thought about something that she does know about,
well, you do wonder
but's
because
not willing to say, and that's allegedly. But that's what the stare is telling me. I'm saying to myself, Candace, what are you thinking? Are you looking at something? Are you thinking about something?
she looks
You know,
miserable and sad.
yeah.
Southern Mama does say, I'm glad to see Southern Mama, I'm sorry, says Candace does show love, affection, and emotions towards Donna and her boys. I guess I'm glad to hear that. I haven't really seen that as much. I'll have to go back and look. And then somebody asked me, Teresa asked, what did Teresa ask? I can scroll up, find out.
Okay.
Oh, Teresa asked about, is there a way to tell if somebody is a product of incest? In other words, if they like inbreeding, right? And the only way you can really tell is to do a genetic, to say, find a mother, find a father. Are they genetically closely related and they produced Candace or whatever? But just looking at a person, I mean, in the old, let's say 50 year ago Appalachia, you could really look at some of the Appalachian mountain people and you could pretty much see by their faces or the way their face and eyes and everything were set that there was likely inbreeding. But this, it has to smack of it for me to be able to kind of hedge my bet. But the really only way you can is to do a genetic test.
Mhm.
But all of these pictures, John Q,
Yes.
all of these photos are post disappearance. So do you have any pictures of pre-disappearance of Summer?
I believe I might have them in a different file. I'd have to take a quick look. But I wanted you to see the post Donald and Candace pictures. They look like they've aged a bit, from the younger pictures that we all started out with back in June and July. And now you see just more, they're more pronounced, they're sharper, they're more serious, they're more revealing in terms of emotional states pertaining to the eyes, mouth, the situational background that they're in. And, they are definitely going through a gauntlet of different emotional states, whether they're going to see their daughter again and how long is this going to last? And, are they going to, search for Summer, and it's almost like it's a hopelessness type of maybe state, for lack of a better word I can think of at the moment. And to see the transformation of both Donald and Candace throughout this whole 5 month, going on 5 months of the 15th timeline is incredible.
It is incredible. I mean, they have aged precipitously. This is what really troubles me about this case is that, not to absolve them of anything if they did any crime. I do think they certainly were negligent parents. There's no doubt about that. In terms of, we can
Yes,
talk about that later, but there was
I
negligence
think
in terms of
everybody would agree with that.
care of the children, care and keeping of the home and the children. Okay, we'll just say that. But if they are guilty or found guilty at some forward point of something criminal, I'm not absolving them and say they shouldn't do the time. However, I'm also saying that these are really broken, addicted man and wife. And it does break my heart. Like the other night when he was on no investigate or thanks, whatever, investigate Doug's show, and he
Right.
got the DWI. I mean, it broke my heart that they put him in jail for like an hour or two and then they let him out. I'm thinking,
They
wait
let
a
him
second.
out. Mhm.
This would have been a perfect opportunity for you to mandate detox, inpatient detox. And meanwhile, apparently Don told Doug, and Doug said this on his show, that he wanted to put a gun to his head and blow his brains out. I'm like, these are people, regardless of what they may or may not have done criminally, they are in desperate straits and they are imploding in front of the American public. And it really is disturbing to me.
And that is a very good word for it, imploding.
And I think CPS, I mean, I have a lot to say about CPS in my many years of experience. They're understaffed, overworked, underpaid, whatever. But as far as these children go, I don't understand how CPS could have visited that house, gone down that stairwell into the dungeon, and kept the kids there. It's stunning to me because there's so much to remediate about that house. I don't understand how CPS could have said, you need to just do these 3 things, put a few walls up, and we'll be back in 2 months or whatever. Those children, from my perspective, should have been immediately removed from the home.
Yes. I would fully agree with that. There would be, when Chris Madonna did the visit at the home and was able to videotape it and show us. I've always said he did a great job at delivering and giving us information we would have not got at all, period,
Right.
on social media. And to show us the living environment, the conditions of the house, the conditions of the yard, the ambience of where they lived and everything, the dogs on the property, how there were used cars, school bus, all kinds of debris scattered all throughout the top portion where the residence is, and then to actually go into the house to find out how cluttered and disarrayed, and where the boys slept, where Summer slept, especially when Chris went downstairs in the basement and saw the conditions, and the mattress was on the floor, and
with no sheet.
I mean, it was incredible to see. And I said, wow. I said, they shouldn't have had kids there, period.
No, and plus it didn't meet code. If you looked at all the exposed wires, I didn't see in Chris McDonough's filming, I didn't see any evidence of, in the basement or otherwise, of any fire alarm, smoke alarm, carbon monoxide. I mean, you could run down the list of
code violations. Yeah.
Somebody just said Candace looks as if she's in despair. It's really funny because I'm very I won't say confused. I don't know what the word is, but like I'm up and down about my emotions or my opinion, because there's a part of me that just feels horrible for this couple. Especially Candace, there is something. Yes, she looks angry. Yes, she looks controlling, manipulative, blah, 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 based on some of the phone calls and her drunken state, etc. But there's also something childlike about her and somewhat innocent. And when she said to Chris McDonough, like, "Oh, come on down, you can come down the stairs," And he's like, could I go around this? Oh no, my husband's 6'2" or whatever. If he can
Right.
get down here, you can get down here. Come on. I mean,
Right.
there was something so,
Almost like playful like.
yes, playful and innocent and childlike about her. Now, maybe
Mhm.
that's her getting over on me. I don't know. But this is, but my thing is that this case, to me, is sort of like a microcosm of something bigger going on in Northeast Tennessee
Mm-hmm.
that may also be related to other parts of the nation. I really think, I could be wrong, but I really do think that there's some nefarious type of familial trafficking or whatever going on
Yes.
that
Yes.
happened. And
Thank you for
somebody
saying that.
proposed that maybe the shed that he went immediately to, when he said he first came home, Don, and instead of
Right.
going to his property, he went down to the shed. And he said, when I saw something like I saw the shed and I knew immediately she was gone.
Right.
What does that mean? And to me, and other people have said the same thing, the shed had to represent something, either a point of transaction where they would take Summer and somebody would pick her up, or something happened inside the shed that a transaction occurred with the daughter. But the bottom line is, when he found out that the daughter wasn't in the shed, or whatever should have been, whatever the shed represents, she was therefore gone. Somebody the other night said, well, maybe that was the point of transaction, and usually the person that they loaned her out to, let's just say, for money or whatever, would drop her back off at the shed, and the mother realized she wasn't back at the shed. And so I've tried to explain in my mind as well, it's not like a stranger abduction that they came onto the property.
Right.
And so the police keep saying things like there's no evidence of an abduction.
Right.
But that doesn't preclude the possibility, including the Don saying she was kidnapped.
Right.
Now saying kidnapped instead of abduction. Well, maybe the abduction was that the person they loaned her out to, so to speak, never brought her back. So that's the abduction. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. Now, I'm with you. I'm with you, because my thoughts about the abduction I've already covered on my channel in regards to examining the terrain, watching Chris in the interview room when he went to the property, going back to the geographical location of the resident, and studying that geosphere, if you will, told me that someone had to have been there before. Someone is familiar with his home. They've been there. Don and Candace are familiar with the folks that they brought there. Now, if they got heavy with the alcohol and the drugs to where it created an amnesia effect, where they couldn't remember who came to the party, what time they came, what time they left, that kind of recall, if you will, having a tough time recalling because you got too high, so to speak, to remember anything, where you pass out.
You black out,
Yeah, you just pass out. Candace would have her, nightly thing and pass out. What was done?
Oh, pass out.
Ready
Yes,
to go. Yeah, exactly. And so I said, well, wait a minute. What haven't I thought about yet regarding Don and Candace in this situation? I watched the Dr. Phil interview, and a thought occurred to me to say, well, let's take a look at Don. He's got past criminal history. He's got SA history.
Right.
Okay. Abuse was in his family. Abuse was in Candace's family. She came from a broken home, et cetera, et cetera. So now we have these two
Her
people.
uncle, I'm sorry to interrupt, but her uncle
it
just got out of prison or something, and he's in a group home for SA.
Right. And so
Repeat.
Who would they associate with doing all of this stuff? Well, they had to associate people who were involved in these things that of their past. in a sense. Don ran drugs. He told Chris
Right.
on the interview room, you know. So he's familiar with not only the area, but he's familiar with folks that he used to do dealings with. Now, what's to say Donald and Candace had a situation with some of these people from the past into the present, messed up some money, messed up a trip, a travel, or something pertaining to that old business that was
Mhm.
brought up during the conversation that he had with Chris. They screwed up, and these people, obviously the serious people, we heard that the cornbread mafia was thrown out there. Don brings up the Billy Boys over here and the hillbilly boys over there, like the gang cults in California or
Right, right.
Chicago or New York. I'm saying he's bringing all of this in, putting it on the table, and I'm saying, well, what's to say that Donald and Candace weren't still involved with these people during the course of Summer going missing? They screwed up because they get amnesia, can't recall. Something happened. Somebody wanted to get back from their agreement, something that was broken. They
Right.
decided to take Summer, hold her until Donald and Candace fix
The
that broken
problem.
agreement with them,
Yeah.
right? Okay. And at the same time, Donald and Candace are not going to give them up, because if they give them up, they lose Summer for good.
Right.
And at the
Yeah,
same time, too, if they do that, they could also lose their lives. There's a lot to lose here.
there
So the
is.
best thing to do is to shut up, not
In a way,
say
but
anything,
okay, I'm
wait
sorry.
this out. Yeah, not to say anything, wait this out, and hopefully they can come to some kind of new agreement to fix the problem they broke, or fix the situation they had a problem with. And these are with some people that goes on a broader scale that they know about, that the police are still investigating. And that's just a thought that came to me
Mhm.
during the time he had the interview with Dr. Phil.
Yeah, although the Chase 423 said to Doug the other night on the telephone live that this cornbread mafia is not a real thing anymore. So it's so hard to know. But yeah, I don't know. But here's my thing. I wanted to mention a couple things because people in
Yes.
chat, it's on what you're saying. Somebody in chat, I'm sorry, I don't remember who said this, but they thought maybe the shed proper down there where he first was where the act of SA would occur with outsiders. And that instead of leaving her in the shed, as per usual, they took her. Somebody else said maybe she died during that act. My thing about that, and I've tried to say this a bunch of times, people are like, oh, she died on, these are theories that people have, that she may have died of heat exhaustion in the car on the property. And what I have said is, when somebody is deceased within probably 5 minutes, the smell of death, even if you or I can't smell it, is like, if they're sitting in a car, if they're sitting in the shed and they die, wherever they die, that smell of death will be there for a dog to come back a cadaver dog to come back months later, and they will smell it. So the fact that they have all different kinds of dogs, law enforcement, on those properties, but especially the property of Don and Candace, and checked all the sheds and everything, and the cars and the vehicles, and there was no cadaver dog that hit, says to me, if she did die of an accident, it couldn't have been in the car, or where, you see what I'm saying? They would have had to have transported her in somebody else's vehicle.
Right. There's also information now that excuse me. There's also information that just came about now about footprints being located in certain areas that was allegedly identified as Summers. So now
Right.
I go back to Donald's narrative to say somebody threw her in a car and drove away.
But that allegedly
So
belongs to a neighbor down the road,
right,
20
right,
minutes
right.
walk. But
Yeah,
somebody asked Chris McDonough last night on his live what he knew about that. He said, I have heard nothing credible about that. But that
right.
doesn't mean it didn't happen,
It didn't
because
happen, right,
Chris may not be aware of that. Do you know what I'm saying? And then there
right,
was somebody else, Summer Mama said something very interesting. I don't know what she said. Oh, a Southern Mama says she thinks that Candace holds the key. Yeah, and I kind of do too.
I believe I'm right with you because Candace has been the key from the start. And for Summer to have gone missing in the presence of Candace, in the presence of her mother being on the premises at the time, in the presence of her brothers being on the premises at the time, according to the narrative now, in broad daylight. Nighttime didn't fall during the summer until any time after 8, as it does here in New York. We're pretty much in the same time zone. So how does a young child of 5 go missing in broad daylight? You're at home, she's with you. You lose eye contact with her for what, the 2 to 3 minutes that, along with the narrative that Candace told us, and then she goes missing.
Oh, you know what? Giggles, I am the doctor, but I was not fake crying. So I'm not really sure why you would say that. What would you like to know? Why would you think that I would be fake crying, Giggles?
Hey, Doug, how you doing?
Hi,
No
Doug.
thanks is in the chat room. Thanks for coming
Did,
by. Um,
did you
Yeah,
want
we'll.
to address it?
Well, I'm sorry. Well, you're going to get you. Obviously, you and I talked about this. We sometimes get those kinds of questions that
Yeah,
pop up from time to time. That want to shine some light on something.
right.
Um, Thank you, Miss Q. But to say your 5-year-old went missing broad daylight, you were at home, you haven't the slightest clue as how she went missing. She didn't walk off, and she would never walk off. She would know her boundaries. Uh, Donald, on his way back from work, goes to the shed, checks that first. The boys were down there by the creek, along with the neighbor, but he leaves his boys down at the creek in a high risk situation. There is someone there that is imposing a danger on your family, but yet you leave the boys down at the creek. You
Right.
go back.
Doesn't make
There's
any sense.
a lot of inconsistencies there,
Yeah.
which didn't make any sense. So I lean now more toward Candace, yes, being the key. She knows
The other,
exactly what happened. She's sorry that it happened. In a lot of
yes.
instances during the course of the interviews that she had with Dr. Phil, in the interview that she had with the behavior panel, and what she has shared even with Chris Madonna during the time he was there on the premises, she genuinely feels sorry when she breaks down
Right.
when the behavior panel brings up the I was about to say the popcorn mafia, the cornbread mafia.
Right. Right.
Uh, she took a drastic crash mentally because she closed her eyes, listened to these gentlemen talk about the mafia, and then just couldn't stand being there. It was almost like they were so close
It was
to
so
something.
powerful.
Yes, it was very intense. And to see that she left that interview only for Dr. Phil to come around the corner during the time he interviewed them to say, hey, we're not saying that you did anything. But when the cornbread mafia word was brought up, you got terribly upset. What happened there? And the expression on her face was mm,
Yeah, it was deep. I know that's not a really good
yeah,
adjective,
and it's
but to me it was deep.
however, it's very revealing too. You
Yep.
know something that you're not saying for whatever reason that is, but at the same time too, you're protecting yourself in this same thing. We're looking for your daughter, but yet you're more, trying to protect yourself in this,
Yeah.
kind of point of view. And I just found that very interesting. Yes, Candace is a key. Donald is complicit because there is some cover up here.
I think there
He's
is.
trying to clean. Yeah, he's trying to clean up the certain areas of the narrative that does get stuck on certain questions where he doesn't recall, he can't remember, I'm not sure. This is his amnesia play. And then yet at the same time too, he won't mind telling you the same narrative and then point his fingers to the world without, to other people while we have
Yeah,
neighbors down
deflection.
the
But
road.
what's really
Exactly.
no, what's
Yes, go
really
ahead.
I think there are
Mhm.
two things that have really struck me about this case in terms of not solving it or anything. Obviously, I'm not going to solve it. But one is the fact people, I don't believe, let's say she is deceased, that she is on the property anywhere. Because unless they're a fool, there's no way that they would have traveled all the way to California, gone by Texas, and left their property wide open for possible search. I think that they know she's not on the property or deceased anywhere nearby. So that's one thing I wanted to say. And I think there was one other thing I wanted to say. Darn. Oh, what's really the one time that consistently, and I think, by the way, hi, no thanks investigates. I hope you're still here, Doug. I think that there have been a few times when Doug has asked and other people have asked Don, well, how about Candace? I mean, what if something happened? How do you know that how do you know that something didn't happen and Candace isn't telling you? And that's usually when he says a pause and he'll say, well, I just believe my wife or something like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there is a pause there, and I
Yes.
wonder if she hasn't fully disclosed to him. He may be complicit at some level, but somehow I don't believe he knows everything.
Right. I
I don't
agree
know
with that. I agree with that. He gives that impression to me too, where he's followed her narrative from Jump Street.
Right.
Donald found out about Summer going missing from Candace.
That's right.
Then he structured the narrative from that point.
Yeah.
And now he is deep in his own narrative. He keeps repeating the same things. He's also giving up things he didn't repeat before, which all lead to other things that we have thought about. It does involve other people. They may be involved with other people in that way. They cannot tell us about these other people because it would jeopardize this whole thing. It's very telling.
It really is. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We're having like there's a sort of a gap in me here.
Yes, there's a little lag. But yeah, and to take a look at where we are today, the successful marathon that we were able to be a part of, that lasted 7 days in the month of October.
Yes, you guys were amazing.
There are major contributors to that whole event, all to change the reward fund from the $40,000 that it sat on the table for almost 4 months, now has changed because loving folks felt that they could trust Q, they could trust Scott, they could trust Penny, they could trust John Q, they could trust No Thanks, which he was a part of. Joshua Diaz was a part of.
Yeah.
Miss Libby from True Crimes with Libby was a part of. a host
Chris,
of other content creators. Ms.
McDonough.
Queen Talks Crime, Ms. V from MTGV TV,
Yep.
a number of content creators that people saw coming together, that trusted to know that they were doing something positive. That's what we had attracted. And we went 7 days and burned 10, 12, 15, 20 hours at a time running a marathon. And to start from one point, thinking that if we could raise a couple of bucks to try to help, to $32,174.42, to give or take that number, to where it stands today. All set up to be completed in 3 steps. There are 2 steps that have been fully completed by Miss Q. One was a 17,000 and change that went by wire, and the receipts are posted on her channel and on her community wall. 2, 12,000 and change just left in a certified bank check, registered mail, which was delivered and received by the Civis Bank Reward Fund folks that are in charge of that fund. That's 29,000 and change already sitting on the table. We are waiting to complete the super chats of 2,700 bucks, give or take those numbers. That'll be coming in on the 21st of the month, which will be calculated and dispersed between the 21st to the 26th. Once that's in place, we're going to do the same thing for the last time and complete the $32,174.43 process. Every single penny has been accounted for. Ms. Q has worked her butt off.
Amen.
In posting as for how could I say, if you want a transparency, you got it, because it's there. It's there in the videos during the marathon, with the exception of the very last one we did to close it up. And I'm still waiting for feedback from YouTube regarding that information, because I want it.
But you know what?
As soon as I get it, then I'm going to post it, you know. And second of all, the trashing and the bashing.
Before you go to the trashing, can I say something?
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is it okay?
Sorry. Yes.
No. He's like, I guess. I just want to say, I just want to say that I really appreciate the fact that, like, Miss Q Carlock, I have never seen such attention to detail on really anything that I have no real right to even have access to. Like, I expect my accountant or whatever to be able to, reconcile all my stuff.
Right.
But, like, as an outsider, so to speak, it's phenomenal that she was completely voluntarily transparent. And I think not only do I want to applaud her for that, and that great responsibility, but I wanted to, really applaud your team of creators that were involved in this. It's something that's just remarkable.
Yes. And to know as well into what happened with all the bashing and all the negative talk and all the garbage that was out there, that to some degree, a very small one, thank God, did pose a detriment to what was finally totaled, to where people started believing in the trash talk, requested refunds.
Yeah.
To affect the outcome. But I want to personally thank you for being, one of the major contributors at the very end, of the process, to say, whatever you lost, guess what? You stepped in and brought us.
I did step in, and I made you guys whole. But guess what?
Yes,
I said that, and I was like, I'll make you whole. My PayPal is coming, and I'm thinking, I hope like $10,000 wasn't removed, because I have to be true to my word. So I am glad that you thanked me, but I think only was about $500 to make you
Yes,
all whole.
and your daughter, made a contribution live, and it was just so wonderful to know the strength of love, unity, and the love of summer,
Right.
was definitely at hand, and to see everyone coming together for a just cause. I said, no one can break down, take away, or destroy what God created.
Amen.
Period.
To me, it was palpable, the positivity, because I was sick, as you probably know, and
Yes.
respiratory virus. So I was in bed for almost 2 weeks. So for a week, I couldn't just was. So I listened. I had the phone by my ear, and I listened. I mean, it was like almost 24/7. I listened to it, and I just kept thinking to myself, "This is a profound moment where you have this unity towards, a force of good, which is Summer Wells, right?"
Yes.
And to me, it was just something I personally was glad to be a little bit of a part of, but also it was just, for me, it was something remarkable.
Yes.
The whole
Indeed.
process.
The whole process, yes. And it was the first time ever being done. Nothing was planned. This was just very organic, very fluid process. And the very first time I have worked along with a host of other content creators. We're all from different backgrounds, all from different walks of life,
Mhm.
all with different mindsets, all with different perspectives, coming together for that one cause. And we've made history, you know. And I'll say this once again. Could the marathon have been better? Yes. It could have avoided a lot of turbulence throughout that process. However, we didn't cause the turbulence. The turbulence came to us. So, as content creators, some of us handled it the way content creators handle it. If you come at me, I'm coming for you, kind of thing. But we worked through that turbulence right to the very end that gave us the result of something that we had not even dreamed of, which
Right.
was to get the grand total amount of $32,174 and change on the table for the reward fund to be impacted in a positive way to where hopefully somebody will talk and
Amen.
tell us
Yeah,
where
you really
and tell
do
us
hope
where
somebody
she
will
is.
open their mouth. You really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm
I
sorry
dropped
that
that
you all.
link.
Mm.
I dropped the link for Miss Q.
Yeah, I saw that. But I wanted to
Yes.
say two things. One, I'm sorry that you all went through that and got that sort of shade, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I think this is part of the human condition. I hate to say it that way, but it's just part of the human condition is backstabbing or undermining or berating, disparagement, whatever the word you want to use. And I think that from my perspective, you all really rose above the fray. And as I said, you all were very gracious and you just continued to be transparent. Now, I saw that Southern Mama was a couple minutes ago. Somebody said Southern Mama has a question or a comment for the panel. I don't know what that
Okay. Southern
is.
Mama. I'll try to see if I can find it. We're at the very final segment of tonight's table talk. For those remaining moments, we'll take on just a couple of questions. We'll also wait for Miss Q to join us on the panel. She wanted to step up and have a few words in regards to tonight's table talk.
She wanted to share with you.
Dr.
And
Latina.
also, we have a little giveaway. I don't know if there's going to be time for that.
We'll make time. I mean, this is your time. Table talk is on your time.
It's been a long table talk. I appreciate your patience.
Yeah, I told you once we get rolling,
Oh, my
it's
word.
going to flow. And before you know it, it's like, wait a minute.
I know, right? It does. It goes. Time ticks.
I told you. It's
Yeah.
it's been a wonderful time. Wonderful time with you.
Joining us for a very special live. It's a beautiful moment because we can reminisce this and feel the achievement that we've all contributed to, while those other naysayers can only feel what they created, which is the chaos that they live in.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bring Miss Q up to
And I see
join us.
Southern Mama's question, by the way. Hi, Miss Q.
Oh, great.
Hello. Wait, I gotta give my cat water real quick. She's so spoiled. Doctora.
¿Cómo
So
está?
John, let me jump up there real quick with
Good.
Doctor. Let me up here.
How you
I
doing,
just
Miss
came
Q?
to tell you. See, there I go again, John. I'm all in your house and didn't even speak. Hello, John. I just get excited. I only wanted to tell you, thank you, and we love you.
Oh, thank
Yes, we
you.
do.
I love you guys.
Yep, we do. We really do. There's so much support for you. I read it in the chat myself. I really thank you for coming out because I don't think you know how much of an inspiration you are to a lot of people.
Oh, that's
And
very
I
nice
think
to say.
no, it's true. And I think it means a lot for them to see you just standing up here and doing that thing you do, you know, being cute and smart and all those beautiful things and not in tears. And I'm just really happy to see it.
Yeah, well, that was one of my. I'm angry, so I.
Oh, I
cried,
get it.
You know.
I get it. Yeah, I've always been like that. Get me too mad, I'm definitely gonna bust in tears on you. But
Yeah.
but it don't always mean you're sad.
No, it really doesn't. Or weak. Or weak.
Or weak. Definitely not. Oh
Yeah.
man, if I cried back in the day, you better watch out. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a problem.
Well, I appreciate.
I just want you to know that we do appreciate you more than you know, I think.
Oh, thank you so much. That's
My
so
pleasure.
nice. I know that Miss Southern Mama had a question, John Q and Q Carlock.
Did you find it, John?
I'm trying to.
I see it.
The chat.
It was at
Okay.
1:09 a.m.
109. Okay.
You find? Are you gonna do it? Okay. I
Yes.
can't
Do
see
you
the
all
chat.
remember when Candace said on her first interview that nothing would have happened to her if I would have been there?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh yes, I
Yes.
do. And she was like, nothing would have happened. And there was this. Then she stopped and she said,
Yes, she did.
Yeah. Right.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
So then, what does that mean? Here we're all pointing the finger at.
I
her.
said, but listen, I looked at my TV and said, For me, that solidified the fact that she was not there when it happened. That's what it told me.
So then we've spent the past half an hour saying that maybe she masterminded something and Don didn't know.
I think if Don didn't know, he damn sure knows by now.
Yes, but what? So what is your theory then? That she didn't? I mean, Southern Mama, I agree with you that Candace did say if she on my watch that wouldn't have happened.
Correct. Exactly.
But what does that mean?
To me, it means she turned her back for just a little too long. I don't think she was not there because clearly she was with her daughter. She was one of the last people with her. But I feel like she may have walked away, turned her back, fell asleep, something. But she was not physically right there when what happened to Summer happened to her. That's how I took it. That's just how I think.
What is your theory?
I still think that it was either something went too far. Let's say, you hit your kid wrong, I guess, too hard, wrong place, one of those things, or some other accident, and then they covered it up. I can't get past that.
You're doing the accident thing. Okay.
Yeah, I can't let it go. I never could. I do believe there's a possibility of a familial abduction. Yeah. But that's not my first go-to.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm just the other way around on the same thing. I hold the possibilities because they're the strongest ones that we can all see. Having what Q just mentioned. Also the possibility of Summer being trafficked. Straight out where they're both complicit. They knew exactly what they were doing. She'll be back. I'll drop the link again. And this is where Candace executed something, and Donald is in process of covering it up,
Yeah.
you know, and, you know, they're protecting each other to hold the narrative in place and, you know, let TBI and the law enforcement handle what they can possibly handle, whether it's two polygraph tests that they feel that they passed, whether it's drug testing that they feel that they passed, whether it's any of the above, you know, to make Donald and Candace feel that much more comfortable believing in their own narrative, that could be their downfall as well.
That could be. Yes.
I hope so.
Pride, what is it? Pride goeth before the fall or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's where I stand on it. I'm looking at other factors that I'm including with the Dr. Phil interview. We'll be doing a possible special live on that coming up.
Okay. Good.
To go further into the two possibilities that we've laid on the table. I don't want to, you know, tip my hand too much, but be able to follow up with the relevant facts that make both those possibilities the strongest. It's on the table, and it's just a matter of time right now, up until TBI begins to locate a lot of the people that Don and Candace were around. And this is what I think that they're doing right now.
Did you guys hear, by the way, about the woman that came on Ziggy? I rarely have gone on this channel called Ziggy, but I somehow came upon her the other night, and this woman came on that said that and she sounded compelling, and she sounded like she was for real, that her daughter is 30 years old and a train traveling girl, or I don't know what they call them, a dirty girl. I don't know what they call these kids, but apparently they hop on the cargo trains from place to place to place, and it's sort of a druggy lifestyle. And the woman said that her daughter, with a couple of guys, including the boyfriend or something, went to buy drugs in January to early February of this year to Don and Candace's house. And the woman described that the daughter met Summer, that she thought Summer was autistic, that the daughter, she gave a lot of detail. And I mean, it's something. And it really points back to what you, John, said about an hour ago now, about they're still maybe being involved in something that they had previously been involved in years ago.
Right. Old ties.
Yes. And it sounds like that they really were, according to this woman that called in, and that
Trap
House. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I heard. I heard
that. Did you hear that or no?
I didn't hear. I wasn't at the live, but you know, through the grapevine, I heard that came out today. Yes, I did.
I might send you the link because it was really compelling.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
Southern Mama did you know, have an extra statement.
Okay. Southern Mama, hey boo.
Yeah, she's been dropping some jewels in there. Now, do y'all think Summer was took to that shed and rented out, and Candace was supposed to stay there but left, and she was hurt bad and internally bleeding and was taken somewhere else and passed? Now, let me continue. Candace was supposed to be there, and she left when she rented her out.
I do not, but that's just on my theory. But Dr. said.
I mean, from day one, I remember I went on that Hunter interview thing with Chris McDonough invited me, and I remember he said there are 4 possibilities. And it was like accident, you know, bum, down we went, a kidnap, whatever. And I said, well, I think there's a 5th. And Chris said, what? And I said, I believe that she could have been trafficked. And Chris said, oh, no, she's too young. And I remember looking at the chat, and then I went back and looked at myself, and they said, and somebody said, look at Dr. rolling her eyes. And I did. After Chris said that, I went like that. And I added, I said, well, maybe you don't think so, but I guess because I see it all the time in my practice. And it's horrible. But I do see these children at 2, 3, 4 being trafficked. it's part of.
Yeah, that makes you more like, oh yeah, that's probably why I can't see it, because I've never seen it. You know what I mean?
And I guess maybe I'm seeing my blind. Maybe it's bad that I have my blinders on.
Yeah, no,
that's what I was
it's
seeing.
not.
Okay,
You just
Anna
see it
had
differently.
something. Anna had
Okay.
something here. I didn't miss you, Anna. I was just looking. You wrote
Sorry.
3 pieces here. The boys could not. The boys could not dispose of Summer. Candace had to be the last to see her. I wish us look at 2 pics I sent from the swimming hole. Let me continue. I screenshotted Summer's face, and I wish the doctor would look at it.
Huh.
I really want someone to look. So, Anna, if you have my email address, you can email those pictures to me. I can forward them over to Dr. Latina.
Yep.
And she can have a look. I can have a look. And also, I'll send them to Miss Q, and she can have a look as well. And we'll be able to
put together some observations.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. And hello, Mr. Scott.
Scott H is in the building. I'm going to hop off so y'all can end this like y'all started it. I just came to show some love to Doctora Latina.
Gracias.
Mucho gusto.
Mucho gusto.
Mucho gusto.
Oh, by the way, I have to tell you while I'll have you here. I really hope I went on and I was hoping to get a long sleeve con mucho gusto with a purple heart. Purple. Mucho gusto.
I didn't fix it yet. Yep. Thank you for reminding me.
Long sleeve, purple heart. I'll buy a couple of them.
Okay. Got you.
If you have the opportunity.
I forgot. I totally forgot. I got you. I love you.
I love you too, honey.
Okay. Bye, John. I love you too.
Okay, Miss Q. Have a good one, love.
See ya.
And, we have Miss MTGV TV, Miss V in the house as well. Where is everybody coming from? Okay. If we have, because I don't want to keep the doctor up too late, folks. Y'all start to beam in here now.
Maybe they're on West Coast time.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's 3 hours difference. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, we had a very in-depth table talk tonight. This is what I wanted to get into, having you here to cover some aspects and things about yourself, and you did. We were able to talk about mental health and wellness. We were able to offer some tools that anyone can use to change their state, change the way they feel about a particular negative situation. And we'll leave those in the description box, along with links to follow up on abusive relationships, on domestic violence, on other articles that you can look into and educate yourself about this, because it's here, it's out there, and we have to deal with it by educating ourselves. And that's what the Dr. Latina wanted to share, and we'll have that posted. And then we got into the Summer Wells case. We talked about aspects of behavioral analysis, if you will. We did a little bit of that tonight, looking at Donald and Candace, taking a summary approach to their narrative, and then putting back the strongest possibilities of what could have occurred on June 15th of this year. Summer's been missing, now going on 5 months.
Yeah.
We've done a marathon. We've talked about that. We have changed the dynamics of the marathon with the work that we've done in the month of October, with the love and the contributions coming from all over the place, all over the world. We've talked about some turbulence that we had along the way, and the turbulence post-marathon. Those things post-marathon will be dealt with. Okay, but the important work has to be completed first. My heart and love goes to Miss Q for everything since day one of the conception of the marathon. The idea, the thought, the conversation I had with Scott led us all the way through to that precipice point of completing a marathon, which does change the dynamic of the reward fund. All to mean and to lead, hopefully, that someone will step up and talk, someone will change the dynamics of the investigation, and someone can be found, and someone can be brought home.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the home she left. I'm talking about her new home, because she's got a lot of healing. She's going to need a lot of love, and that's going to be a time process for her. Indeed.
Yeah.
And to have Dr. Latina on with us for Table Talk tonight has been absolutely explosive. And I want to thank you so much for allowing this moment to happen. I knew we were going to do it in November. I wasn't sure the time slot because I didn't know what your schedule was, but as soon as I emailed you, you said, let's do it. I said, all right, we're on.
That's right.
Yeah.
Shall I do a couple giveaways, like explain how it would work?
Yeah. Do your thing.
I'll do my thing.
Here we go.
So, here we go. So I have a couple giveaways for folks, and anybody that, I don't have an unlimited amount, so I guess it's God willing, first come, first serve, whatever. But as far as the mental health piece of stuff that we talked about tonight, just self-care, people that are in bad relationships, toxic relationships, etc. I have 3 different giveaways. And the way it works is that whoever thinks they might want one can email John Q. He will send me your contact information. You don't have to give him your personal contact information. You could send it to me. It would be confidential, HIPAA, kind of thing. Right. So then I would mail you the giveaway. So the 3 possibilities are as follows. I have 2 workbooks that I highly recommend, and it's called, I don't remember, The Power to Break Free. And it's a very thin workbook, and basically it is a powerful book about how to get out of a relationship if it involves domestic violence. And it kind of is a step-by-step, and it gives you things to think about, and it has benefited quite a number of people. So I have 2 of these to give away. If anybody's interested, if you think you might be in a relationship and you want something to work towards and empower you, I have these 2.
Wonderful.
The other 2 books that I have are, and I didn't mention this earlier, but with my horrible insomnia problem, I have a favorite podcast storyteller, and she also has a book. The podcast is free, so I listen to it all the time, and I'm usually asleep within 10 minutes. I never hear the end of her stories, but it's called Nothing Much Happens, and it's bedtime stories for adults. And she is a really wonderful short story writer, and each of her stories lasts at the most maybe 20 minutes. And they're to help you to learn how to get to sleep. And you could read probably you would read half the story and you'd feel like you wanted to go to sleep. So these are 2, they just happen to have different covers, but Nothing Much Happens. And it's a wonderful insomnia kind of book help. Are you there, John?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Finally, I have 3, and obviously, yeah, so people can't. You can't say I want one of each.
You're going to keep me busy,
right? So I've got 3 different blank journals.
Journals, okay.
Learning to journal, and that's part of self-care. And I would attach with it 30 questions typed up that you could kind of work on in your journal, and you could also just paint. You can do whatever you want in the journal. But anyway, they're very pretty. I find them very helpful. So that's my 3rd giveaway.
Now, will they be autographed inside?
Oh,
Ah.
I didn't write them, so I don't know. I usually, when I do this, because I've done this on a couple of other little channels, and I usually send a little card with my
Oh,
name and say,
beautiful.
good luck to you or whatever the situation.
Okay.
So we've got the journal possibilities, they're blank inside.
Okay.
We've got the power to break free, which is more domestic violence type of workbook. And then for those insomniacs, we have the nothing much happens. And if you can remember this, you could also go to any like Apple, or I do a podcast, some other app, and it's free. So you just listen to it. So that's great, even if you don't want the book. So that's that. And so the way John would do it is that anybody that's interested could email John, say, I am interested. Could you please send my name to Doctora Latina? And then I will contact you and you can ask me what it is that you would like.
Right, directly. Beautiful. I mean, that is great. Now you're bringing gifts and all kinds of stuff here.
Well, I just want people to feel like they hopefully will find a tool for self-care, because I think we could all use self-care. Myself.
Yes, and that was one of the main messages that Dr. Latina and I had discussed in our conversation was to have something that folks can walk away with, to have some value from tonight's Table Talk Live for yourself personally, whether you know someone who could benefit from the information. Share this video, share the information, because that's the reason why we put the program together tonight. So with that said, Dr. Latina, any final words before night
time? No,
before bedtime.
Yeah, no, want to just acknowledge that I've been trying. My eyes, as you probably can see, have been moving along to the side. I've been reading chat as much as I can all the way along. I think it's been 3 hours, and I see a lot of people are like, thank you and hi and whatever. And I want to just acknowledge the chat family and to thank them for, their support, their kindness, their compassion, and just being here tonight. Right.
Yes. And likewise, Dr. Latina, everyone sends their love back to you, and loves the fact that you were able to cut out some very important private personal time of yours to share with us a host of different things that we've learned here tonight. And so I thank you personally for that.
Oh,
yes,
well, it's been really enjoyable.
You've made Table Talk tonight a very, very special live, and I'm very honored to have you as a very special guest. I wasn't posting your name at all, but when we wrap the live up, your name will be posted and everything regarding Table Talk. All of the information we discussed will be in the description box, along with my email address, how to get in contact with me about the giveaways, and any type of follow-up in regards to tonight's Table Talk.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I'm going to say buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Gracias. Y con mucho gusto.
Con mucho gusto.
Con mucho gusto.
Mucho gusto.
Okay, guys. All right. I'm going to say good night.
Okay.
Buenas noches. Adios. Con mucho gusto. Adios.
Much love to you. Con mucho gusto. I love that. Oh, my goodness. And so there we have it, folks. Tonight's special guest, Dr. Latina, on Table Talk. We've got a very powerful lineup for next Sunday's Table Talk. It's going to be powerful, and I'm going to do the same thing again. We're going to wait till the night of Table Talk and come right back at you with a very special, powerful guest. We're starting to, I'm beginning to feel how where the direction of Table Talk is definitely going to benefit everyone that joins us here. Want to have the kinds of live that not only benefits listening, but also gives you some value to take home, to walk away with. And that's one of the most important things I wanted Table Talk to make a contribution to. So with you, you make what Table Talk is today. You know, it's a very successful young program that's just coming off the ground. Q Squared this Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Time. Miss Q Carlock and myself will be back at you with any new updates, and I'm sure we will have some new updates for you coming around the corner. Along with, we could do open panel, we could have a special guest come in, we could do a lot of things. And that's what I love about Q Squared and Table Talk, because we're able to interconnect a lot concerning the folks that show up here on the platform. And then I'm looking at doing a collaboration with Mr. Boss Blake pertaining to the Aubrey case, Ahmaud Aubrey case, which is ongoing court case right now. We're looking to collaborate on a specific independent special investigation done by Mr. Boss Blake and myself. We're going to be going through our notes, I would say sometime this week, to prepare to get it scheduled. I spoke to him today. He's doing fabulously well. He appreciates everyone who loves his music. I keep talking about him and in reference to dropping some new stuff for us. So that's in the pipeline. You know, John Q, I'm always going to keep it crisp, fresh, exciting. Ding, 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 ding. It's so exciting to me. It's fresh. Okay. But along with that, thank you all. I know that if we didn't get a chance to cover a whole bunch of questions and a whole bunch of comments, you know, we were on a time frame and a track line, so the majority of them hopefully were answered to your satisfaction. And those we missed, we can always come back around the corner and you know, revisit those comments, because the cases are ongoing. And we can definitely hold it all together. Hold it all together. That's what we're doing. With that said, once again, much love to Dr. Latina for joining us here on tonight's special Table Talk. Much love to Miss Q for making a special appearance herself to share our love with Dr. Latina. As a team, as a family, if you will, because we're all coming up together, and it's a beautiful way to do it, knowing that you can come to a channel and be a part, feel that you are a part of a channel that you're helping to grow. And the way you do that is to make sure you hit the like button, you subscribe, you stick with us, you stay with us, you stay in love with us, because we're in love with you. And that's the best way to be. So I'm going to wrap things up and get us out of here. Y'all have a good evening wherever you are, whether you be on the East Coast or the West Coast or abroad outside of the United States. Thank you so much for joining Table Talk tonight. If you'd like to support the channel and its content and special events, you know how to reach me. It's on the blue bar just above the chat. Only takes a couple of seconds. You know, any support is more than appreciative for the programs that we have upcoming and in line for you. So with that said, oh, what a night. Beautiful night. It's been blessed. It's been a huge blessing. A huge blessing. And to know that all of you have made that blessing come true. Be well and stay blessed. With Godspeed, I'm John Q. We'll see you next week on Table Talk. Take care.
It's time for table talk. It's time to go to work. Let the people know that John is going live. It's time for table talk. Yeah. It's time for table talk. It's time to go to work. Let the people know that John is going live. It's time for table talk.
Let's go to work tonight.
Cue the truth.